Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Suited and Booted. To my left we have
Lord Mahazi.
To my right,
Number 10.
behind the camera.
Lord Bodic.
And man, listen. I think when we started this pod, I think this was my target for like my premier guest, who also happens to be a friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, Eli Mengem. Come on!
Yes.
I'm equally as big a fan of you guys, so thank you for the lovely
Hey,
introduction.
thank you for travelling all this way just to be on this
just
podcast
came in.
too, man. It's a long, it's a long
Straight from Tullamarine, he picked me up.
He's been to Budapest. He's been to Madrid. He's been to Bologna.
Yeah.
He's been all over the world. Bro, look, we're going to go all over the place with this because you've got such a storied career. And I know you've said this 1,000 times, but there will be some listeners on here that don't know exactly where you started. So maybe give a bit of a background of like where you grew up and how you got the COPA 90 gig.
Yeah. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm originally from Melbourne. When I was about 11, due to a bunch of reasons, my folks got us and moved us up to Brisbane.
Yep.
So I'm half Melbourne, half Brisbane. Well, I've done 11 years in Melbourne, 11 years in Brisbane, just over 11 years in London now. How did I get started? I mean, with COPA or...
We'll go. Oh, maybe you can say the similar story to mine with the AFL.
So for people who don't know, because a lot of people don't know who I am, I make documentaries about football culture.
Do people not know?
Is there Rush didn't know who I was a couple of years ago.
So through Jerome, I learned about who you are.
Oh, yes, true.
I think the ball artist can't...
I hadn't watched one.
But that's cool. I've got a lot of players don't know who I am. Like, it's my kind of thing I make is not for... This is the great thing about football. There's so many different avenues you can be into football. You can just be into tactics and not want to hear about the geopolitical situation with fucking Taiwan and China through football. Like, some people just aren't interested in, like...
fair.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I get it. I don't expect people to... I think if you're in Oz football, I'd like to think by now I've been in so many circles that I'll be recognisable. There's one time I met, what's the commentator called from SBS? Bald guy. Love him. Bashir.
Andy Harp. Oh, yeah, the Lebo guy.
Yeah.
David Bashir.
I was at the Adelaide, the grand final in 2016, and someone introduced him to me, and I love COPA 90. I read it the other week, and I was just thinking, like, he's obviously thought it was a website, a blog or something.
It isn't.
No, it's not. No, it's not. People have thought it was a video.
You called him out of his bullshit.
No, I didn't say anything. If you work for SBS, I'd just be quiet. Like, I've got
respect.
Yeah, and I've had people think it was a video game and like pretend they know what it is. I don't take it.
That's a new FIFA.
Yeah, genuinely. Honestly, if I told you sometimes, number one thing I get stopped for or mistaken for is people go away days, and that's obviously, it's Ellis Platt and stuff. I think they're mixing up with derby days. I don't know. The point is, like, a lot of people might not know what I do, so I make documentaries about football culture. Kind of the tag for COPA 90 for years now has been like more than the 90 minutes. I have no interest in the game. For the most part, it's all about people, what it does to people, places, and as I say, football is an anthropologist stream. I read that in an Age article about 15 years ago. It was a travel doc about someone who went to London and got invited to a Tottenham game and just said, this whole thing is an anthropological dream, just watching people and the way they behave. That's how I fell in love with football. So, as I've told you many times, just like you, I grew up with AFL. Stop me if I'm talking too much.
No, bro.
Lucky it's a podcast.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can do.
That's a good point. Look, I'm born and raised in Melbourne. Mum's a hardcore Richmond fan. Granddad was a hardcore Richmond fan. When he moved from Germany, it was only years later that I found out he's actually a hardcore Dortmund fan. That's because he basically, to assimilate, they made him...
black and yellow.
And a few other reasons. He had a factory out there and stuff. But I grew up born and raised on AFL. That all changed when I moved to Brisbane. I can tell you that story in itself. I think I've told on a few pods before where you leave Melbourne in 2001 and AFL doesn't exist in Brisbane. They hadn't won their three-peat, the Lions, yet, and I was basically bullied into playing rugby, couldn't stand it. I'll tell you the story. The story I always tell is one of the ways my parents got to like bribe me and my brother to like stop complaining about moving to Brisbane. They got us like all kind of toys. I was obsessed with Richmond, got a brand new Sharon, thought I'd be the coolest kid in school.
Oh no.
Walking to school with my Sharon, like, yeah, man.
Way to get bullied.
I remember the guy, Jared, he takes the ball in my hands, like, what's this? I'm like, it's a Sharon. He's like, what's that? And I said, it was like someone saying, what's
football in Argentina?
Yeah, it was like insane. I never heard of anything. And then he goes, this is gay FL. And he gets the ball and he punts it out of the school. And I'm just being like, and also like,
KFL.
I wonder what he does for a
Welcome to
living. I
Brisbane,
wonder what he
Ali.
does for a living now, bro. You
I
know,
think he went to jail actually.
Free him up.
Nah, keep him there.
Keep him
Keep him there for the good of society. Long story short, it's like we play rugby here. Now I may have like kind of romanticized this in my head, but I remember like literally him pointing. And again, I try to explain this to people. Like in 2001, the internet was there, but it wasn't prevalent. We didn't have smartphones. There was no like, not even like a 24-hour Fox Sports News where like who's from Melbourne? You're all from Melbourne, right?
Yeah.
I knew AFL. I knew like Olympics games. I knew a little bit about soccer because the Olympics had come here and I went to a game. But like all I knew was like AFL is like everything.
That's
and like
it.
it's all you know. It's my identity. Yeah. And I've come up to this place where it's like we don't know that game. We don't like that game. We play this game here. And they got me into rugby and I think I lasted like a 15 minutes. I just got to keep running into that person, until you get break through them. And they try it back at you. I just been being like, what is that? And then...
you don't have the shoulders for it,
I don't
bro.
no, man. No
Me
way.
neither.
And so I didn't play sport, and that's all I knew was playing sport. And then the two kids in the corner, the Greek and the Ukrainian kid, who everyone bullied, had a football. And I remember just being like, I have to go join them. And then
I'll kick it with these
I'll
wogs.
kick it with these wogs. Last resort. They did have on the casual. I always bring this up as well. On the casual Fridays, they had all the cool clothes. So like they had the Billabong and the Ripcord back then.
Oh, yeah.
They're kind of cool, but they play soccer like that. Again, this comes back to my whole thing of like, you can't be cool and play soccer. Like in Brisbane, you weren't cool for playing soccer because of rugby.
Yep.
In Melbourne, it was because of AFL. And then when it changed, this is 2001. We moved about mid 2001. The 2002 World Cup comes. Japan, South Korea, and it's on at 4 p.m. I'm skipping a lot of stuff like this. So my two mates, Carl and Cozzy always had like these cool Arsenal tracksuits on. He always had the cool clothes. I just couldn't work it out. I'm like, how can it be cool if no one plays it?
Wait, so Carl and Cozzy's is the Ukrainian Greek guy?
Carl and Cozzy are the two guys who basically...
Yeah.
They like changed my course of life. They got me into hip hop. They got me into. They changed everything basically. It made me. It's that whole thing. We probably all had it where like when you're an ethnic and it's like you don't want to be ethnic, and then you get to that point where you realize it's actually quite cool. They were the ones who made me realize that thing. Like I think AFL was like again like it was for my grandfather who came over here. Like it, you assimilate. You're part of the culture. I'm just doing what I'm told.
That's like when I made my mum straighten my hair every morning, and then I realised actually your hair can't do that,
bro.
So I did that for 5 years at high school. Bro.
Guys, I put a hole through a hotel door because my brother was using my hair straightener. Because I could hear him using it. I spent
Curly haired people think, bro.
my mum and dad would tell me, "Curls get the girls." I'm like, you guys don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I want a fridge.
Entourage came out. Remember Entourage?
Yeah.
TV show?
Yeah.
Adrian Grenier had the
Oh,
girls. Got the
Vinny
girls.
Chase.
And I was like, holy bro, the amount of time I spent in the bathroom straightening my hair from 2007 to 2011.
Hey, did we all have the similar experience with that phrase, curls get the girls?
Yes.
That somewhat made us feel comfortable with having curly hair. It's like,
No, I never felt
actually,
comfortable
maybe
with
it's
curly
just
Because my mum
actually
said it. I
cool.
was like, no, I don't want, like your mum saying curls gets the girls. Like, don't tell me what girls.
Yeah. Don't tell me what gets a girl's mum.
Yeah, my mum said groovy and disco. Like, you're going to the disco. So it's like anything she like.
That's grouse.
You know what I mean? It's just like ick. Like I don't want if my
Yeah.
mum tells me it gets the girls. I don't,
Yeah, I don't want it.
My man, like,
just get out of my room, mum.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a phase, mum. I'm shaking my head till I die. You know?
Which at that point you believe it. Welcome to student
Yeah, we've already lost it.
Your pod's gone.
I've skipped so much shit about Brisbane as well. Like, so basically, we moved in 2001. I'm still trying to get into AFL. I'm still like playing AFL for a club, but it's just not the same thing. And like I said, World Cup comes around 4 p.m. Every afternoon. The big one was we were at the school dance. It was the first game, and Cozzy's dad. We're hanging outside talking to girls, and Cozzy's dad pulls up, and I forget he had a Beamer. Pulls up, he's like, Cozzy, get in the car. Senegal's beating France. And I was like,
Wow.
and they run in, and I'm like, what's a Senegal? Is that player? Like, I don't, because I was also, the other thing I was obsessed with was the world, geography, capital cities. And I was also really into like NBA and stuff like that. But they've just driven off, and I'm like, something important just happened. Because that was why I was always into sport. I was never really into it for tactics and stuff. Like,
Does he sound like me or not?
Oh no, you have no idea like how much.
Yeah, there's similarities.
Yeah.
When he said hip hop, then I was like, okay, there's a bit of a crossover here.
Oh, well, you've spoken about how your mum's a big AFL fan.
Yep.
Dad doesn't really like sport.
Yep.
It was a World Cup that converted you.
Yep.
That's exactly my situation.
Yeah.
Hey, a story on his dad. I went round to his house and he's wearing a T-shirt that is my old podcast. And we were talking and he thought I was Rashid. So just think of my brain trying to I'm like, you are wearing my branding and you don't even know
no idea.
who the fuck I am.
When did you realize you thought you were Rashid?
Quite a while in.
My dad,
He goes, yeah, I know, it's Rashid.
I've had friends for like 5-6 years, and my dad get their names wrong. Like,
No, but that's a classic dad.
yeah, just classic dad shit.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So,
I digest.
yeah, they just
They
Senegal,
drive
France.
off- they drive
Senegal,
off.
France. I go home that night. I remember SBS World News reporting it's a national holiday in Senegal. And like I said, even the reason I got into AFL, I remember back in Melbourne, was I didn't actually want to play. I just wanted to talk to girls. But when all my mates would play and the girls would watch, I'd be like, oh, I'm getting involved in this. And I think I look back on it and I realized I always got into sport because of like, it took the attention of people. I wasn't really that bothered about playing it. I've always said I'm a really good loser. Like when I play sport, I just don't care if I win or lose. I'm just not competitive like that.
Okay,
Like,
you and Jerome are not alike.
yeah, okay, then maybe we're not.
So it's like social inclusion.
It's
in
like,
a sense.
well, I'm the kind of guy, if I play football and someone scores like a worldie, I'll clap. I'm like, fair play. Like, I just,
Yeah.
if I get nutmegged, I kind of like laugh. I'm like, fair. Like, I just love the beauty of the game.
Yeah.
That's my thing. So maybe, we aren't that similar. But going back to that was like, realizing like, okay, if everyone's into this thing, I'm going to be into it because of how other people are fascinated by it. And so I'm going like this random country I've just learned about has a day off because they won one game, and then the next day it's Slovenia, Spain, and it's Denmark, Uruguay, and it's like all these places and these. I feel like everyone has this moment where you're like, there's so many colors going on, and you feel like what the whole world's watching this, and then the big one, the moment like the light was like, I remember Cosy telling me like today's huge, like England's playing Brazil, this is a massive deal, and he'd give me like the lowdown on it. I go home, watch it 5 p.m., 6 p.m., whatever it was.
What a time.
Oh, man, it was perfect. I'm on the couch and Ronaldinho scores that goal. And, like, it was like that moment in the movies where it's like, because it's like a Brazilian playing in Paris, scoring against an English team in Korea. I'm an Aussie watching this. My Greek mates told me to watch this. It's like, this is the entire globe. Like, everything I loved about, like, AFL, where I thought the whole of the country was watching, or NBA because of all of America was watching. I'm
On
like,
roids.
this is the world. Yeah, this is every sport on roids. And it was like this moment. I remember, again, 2001, run into the yellow or the white pages or whatever it was, finding Kyprianides and like to call him up and be like, that was the moment I was like, this is the greatest thing on earth. Like, and then obviously the ads come with it, like the cage ad and everything else. And like, what's tomorrow and what's tomorrow? And it was like this, it was just this light bulb moment of like, this is actually everything I like about all the other sports. This is this on a level that's just unprecedented.
And this is why you're such, like, you're known on Twitter, on football Twitter, as the biggest proponent in the world for international breaks. A lot of people hate them.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, I have my times. Sometimes I'm like, great. Sometimes I'm like, fuck off. I want to watch Chelsea. But it's all making sense to me now.
Wait, can you go deeper on that? Like, why?
The international break is the greatest thing in modern mankind. It is a 3-year tournament where every single corner of the globe gets to compete and have a crack at this. Champions League is exclusive to Europe. Premier League is exclusive to England. It just gets. This is the only one where it is truly, absolutely incredible. My favorite journalist, James Montague, who I'll bring up later, like he had this thing where he'd start at the first qualifier. It goes for 3 years. Like people can raise a child in the time that it takes you to get there, and you can still miss out. It involves the tiniest islands. So James Montague started one, I think, for the 2014 World Cup in Bhutan.
Yeah,
Bhutan only got TVs in like the 90s. The game when they finally made it to like that first qualifying round in Asia, it was the biggest congregation of people in the history of Bhutan. This is like 6 months before Australia even kick off against the fucking, I don't know, whoever we played, Thailand in that second round version. They played Sri Lanka. Bhutan's like a really close country. It was 2 legs. I think it was Sri Lanka, if I'm not mistaken. They beat Sri Lanka and to celebrate. They'd never seen a KFC before. They went to KFC and they tried to put the KFC buckets on hold luggage because they wanted to take it back to Bhutan. Like that, but that is like game one of 7,000 games that will happen, that's part of the same competition where Neymar has to go 6,000 feet in the air in Bolivia, and the Ayatollah of Iran is lending his plane to the Iranian players so that they can have an easier run, and Australia Socceroos are dodging bricks in Uruguay in the playoff. And I mean, where do I begin? Albania, Serbia, literally a guy flew a drone over, caused a riot and a government issue. A war kicks off Honduras, El Salvador in 1969 for the 1970 World Cup because of a qualifier. A civil war stops in Ivory Coast because they finally made one, because Drogba and his team get down on
Who
their
did
knees.
that, sorry?
You don't know about that? Ivory Coast.
No. I've been saying it all week on stream.
Don't fall for it. He's talking about like if Drogba played in this A-League final, he would have scored that. Like, now you're just inserting him everywhere, bro.
Hey, someone asked that on stream.
I mean, I'm just getting started, man. Like, there is just the qualifiers are just this never-ending insane thing where, like, as the leagues we love get more and more sanitized and like gentrified and are more inaccessible, and the best players from all around the world get taken off all our countries and put into one continent, and let's be honest, mostly one country now, maybe 2-3 max. They all have to come home for this, and you're equal. And I'm going to probably spook my show enough, but The Real International Break is a show I made in relation to that. It started in Bosnia. The first series was in the Balkans, first episode I should say. Then we went to Japan, Ivory Coast. The best episode is the one in Argentina where Messi saves them in Ecuador. But this guy does this amazing line. I think I did that in the Australia episode because I finished in Oz. We beat Honduras. Where he's like, it's the one place where like you can be a multi-billion-dollar player, but you have to play in a 10,000 person stadium where people can still throw oranges at you. Like, for the most part, you avoid that unless it's a small cup game. Like, it's the equalizer of everyone gets to be involved in this. The reality is, I don't want to have a go at you, but like, but like, Chelsea don't give a shit about you. Like, you're really not from West London.
Yeah,
but you are from Australia, and the dream is that Australia...
I know this.
No, but Australia could play, like, a place that actually represents you, like a guy from your hood could eventually did meet Messi. Like, it's the only time where all of us and everyone gets to dream that, whether you're Bhutan or fucking Samoa or... Can I swear on this?
Yeah.
What? I'm going to be swearing a lot. Yeah,
Bro.
Yeah, sorry.
Last time we asked that question, he yelled,
Yeah.
"Can't." So just be careful on that.
We're just like... and I get that it's... Especially like those September and October ones that happen. Just when the season kicks off, you're like, we're pausing again. I do get that. I'd prefer what a lot of people have proposed is a month of just... We have one big month of qualifiers.
Yep.
Like the league starts later, you have a big fuck off month of qualifiers, and then the league just gets to go without so many interruptions. But regardless, there's a great... We always talk about November 16 here. November 16, if that's the right date, there's a great, I think it's a Miguel Delaney article in The Guardian about November 16 and what it means to like 6 or 7 countries where on the same day a whole bunch of crazy ass shit happened. Wales could have qualified. I don't want to give away because there's a few docs I still want to make on this. But like when Wales hadn't made it for like 30 years, they played Romania. It came down to a penalty kick in like the 80th minute. He missed it. They missed out. Romania went instead. And someone in their fury shot a flare gun. It went across the fucking stadium, hit someone in the eye and killed them. The players had to go to the funeral like 2 days later. Like at that same time, Bulgaria, I think, knocked out France. The famous, do you know about that famous story where was it Bulgaria? Who was the geezer who was at Newcastle and Tottenham? Really good looking guy. Ginola didn't basically. France just had to draw.
Oh, I know this story. I've seen this.
Julia never selected him again. I might be getting the teams wrong.
What year is this? 94?
Yeah, when they make it 94. It's insane. He basically decided not to pass it at the corner. He had it in their half at the corner flag, just run the clock down. Instead, he decided to like have a whip round and try and cross it. Gets cleared, Bulgaria run up, score, and France don't make the World Cup for the first time in decades. He's never selected again. He has to go into hiding. At that same time, I think Ireland played Northern Ireland to qualify.
Oh, that'd be
same
nice.
Time was that, yeah, exactly. It's like you've got, like I said, war. Like Honduras and El Salvador, a war kicked off because of this. Like there's just Jamaica's Run to 98 is a documentary we've been kind of trying to make for a while now. It's just, you name me a country, I'll give you an insane qualifier.
I'm wondering, just hearing you say all this stuff, to be honest, like I played football, but I don't think of it on such a mass scale. Yeah. I'm wondering if there's any single topic that has influenced the world more than anything, than anything else.
You say that, but football like incorporates all of them anyways, whether it's religion. Like
that's my point.
Your foundations, food, music, maybe religion, but they all get kind of enveloped into football. Then you could also say, music gets...
Can we hold this, this exact topic because this is a topic I have. It's a very important topic, but it's going to tie into derby days.
Okay.
So I'm sorry to cut you off, but I need to hold that.
Anyway, going back to me straightening my hair.
Yes, basically.
No.
How'd we get to
Brisbane,
yeah.
World Cup blows my mind. I'm like, fuck, this is my game. I'm still playing AFL because I love the game, like the actual sport of it. But then because he's my best mate, he's Greek. 2 years later, they make the Euros. We're going to the Greek club in Brisbane. The Greek club in Brisbane, it's one of the few things Brisbane has is a fucking cool Greek club. There's not many ethnics out there. The Greek club in South Brisbane, anyone who's from Brisbane knows it. We made I cut a bed sheet and like made a Greek flag out of it. We went, first time seeing flares, it's 4 a.m. and we're playing This Is Football. Remember that game?
Yes.
My parents wouldn't get me FIFA back then. And so we're playing that and Carl and Kozzy are being like, I want to be Ajax. I'm like, what country's Ajax? They're like, it's from Amsterdam. I'm going to be AC. What's AC? It's Milan. And they're like, my two mates are just like, again, they're like talking about all these cities, these foreign cities. I'm like, you guys are the same as me, same age. You have this understanding of the world for this game. And I was like, almost maybe that's where my competition.
That's how so many people are good at geography. I'm not even joking.
100%.
Like I learned. Like everyone's like, oh, you're pretty decent at capital cities. I'm like, it's because I fucking play FIFA.
Yeah, and football.
Specifically, FIFA World Cup 2010. We
Yeah.
made that video game.
Yeah.
It was a fun fact before every match.
Fun fact.
And now I'm like, I know random shit about Honduras.
Bro,
about-
you could play as Sri Lanka, Mauritius, Lebanon.
was incredible.
It was mad.
Yeah.
So Euros.
Euros, it's like, then I'm seeing flares. And then 6 months later, like someone goes to me, actually, let's look at this. I was friends with Miran Bleiberg's son, Jordan. Did you ever meet Jordan?
No.
But he's like, there's a new... also, we move... My main family house in Brisbane, we move 1 block from Perry Park.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm still like not understanding all of this. Like football, like it's still all foreign to me because my parents do have no interest whatsoever. So it's like all I got to find all this stuff out myself. And then I'm friends with...
Sorry to cut you off. Can
Yeah.
I just ask... I think there's like an innate, I guess, fascination with how big the world is and all these moving parts and stuff. Were your parents like that in general, not for soccer?
Yeah. So my mum had a rule, like we always had a newspaper on the table. We couldn't watch, that's why I'm so obsessed with print. Couldn't watch TV in the morning. And my dad was a tiler, but then eventually started importing tiles, so he'd go around the world. And to be fair, I have one memory before I moved to Brisbane where I think I posted it. The World Cup was the Olympics was coming to Melbourne, and he worked in Brazil for a bit, so he bought us Brazil kits, and I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever!" Like Brazil soccer, and we went to. Did you boys go to that game? Because you're Melbourne in the opening event for the Olympics in 2000 was Melbourne versus Italy in the MCG. It was like 100,000.
Australia
people.
versus Italy.
Australia versus what did I say? Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Yeah,
I didn't go.
Yeah, it was insane. Hayden Fox fucked up and. I remember being like, he's shit.
Shots fired.
I didn't
Shout
even
out
know
Foxy.
who he was. Hayden Fox messed up. I think Totti scored. I might be wrong in thinking that, but we were on the top level and it was like September that, like winter was finishing. And
That's
it's like,
crazy that you remember that.
I've got like a
Even
crazy memory. It was just so sick. It was my first football game and I was like, this is like, I don't think it clicked then, but I just remember like, oh, I'm at the Olympics. And so, yeah, no, I think it was just, fascination with the world. We did travel a bit. Not too much, but enough to like always be fascinated with the world. I was into what the world was into. Like it was also like cultural movements, politics. I'm always kind of interested in like, and I just realized again as I got older, like everything is through football. Through football, I can learn about sayings and music and political movements and everything through football. You'll learn about it. It's endless. So yeah, and then. Bleiberg's son tells me there's this thing coming called the A-League. And I was like, oh, shit, what's that? Straight away, went to the first game, never missed a game.
What, in Brisbane?
In Brisbane. I was never, again, I had this whole identity. I've always had this, whereas like me and my brother, like, we're like, we are Melbourne. Like, you also got to remember, Brisbane was so different to Melbourne back then.
Oh,
like, I always tell the story, we went to the Westfield to get some stuff for the house. And the fucking doors wouldn't open. My dad was like he's like, I don't know what's going on. This guy comes up on like a little fucking, what do you call them? Golf cart.
Yeah.
Security. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, the doors won't open. Like, of course it won't open. It's Saturday. And we were like, so? And they're like, we're not open on Saturday. They won't even open on Saturdays.
A Westfield?
Westfield in 2001. It was.
What the hell?
Yeah, bro, 2000. It was backwards, man. Like it was backwards back. And it's changed a lot. It's come a long
Were
way.
you in Brisbane or fucking Toowoomba?
Yeah.
Fuck. Fucking hell.
Shots
Yeah,
fired at
Toowoomba just opened up. It was mad. It was a different time, and like so many people from Melbourne and Sydney moved up now, and it's come a long way.
Yeah.
But I hated being from Brisbane. Like I hated living in Brisbane. I hated the rugby lot. I was like staunchly Melbourne, me and my brother, and then just it was enough time passed when I started to come back down to Melbourne. I realized everyone's a bit different to me, and I'm not from Melbourne. And I've always like kind of been like this. I actually don't know. These days I'm like I don't, because people try and claim both for me, and I'm like I'm just neither. I'm Sydney maybe. I don't know.
I'm in
I'm in the
between.
middle. I'm Canberra.
Yeah, I'm Canberra.
Canberra till I die. So no, I'm like this kind of like half. Not sure what I am. Kind of vibe, but I think that actually kind of works in that I don't have any roots. So it also works why I don't have a club. Everyone's like, "What's your club?" I'm like, I don't have. I don't want to be known as like being. We've spoken about this before, like the whole ethnically ambiguous thing. It's like I just want to be known as someone who celebrates the game, doesn't have a agenda. The only thing I root for is Australian football because I'm from here and I know the fight and I just
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that takes you to what, 22 years old?
So I'm getting to football. I'm still playing Aussie rules because I love playing, but 06 is the next bit where it's like every 2 years, right? Like you just get more converted with the Euros and the World Cup. I'm learning more. I'm getting more obsessed. I could give you so many stories, but I always say that 2002 was the moment I realized I loved football. But I also had a thing, and it's something I speak about a lot as well. It's like, but I'm from Melbourne, and I'm a Richmond boy, and like that is who I am. And like, you look at photos of me from birth, I'm in a jersey, and like when Richmond came to the Gabba, I was fucking there no matter what on the front line. But again, there's so many stories that like moments I can look back on. But obviously, I'm getting more and more into the Socceroos. 05 comes along, I'm basically obsessed. And I remember walking to school the day of November 16. I had my Sharon because I still played, and I'm like bouncing the ball. And I remember, like, I was having this thing of like, no, but AFL is still my favorite sport. Like, I had this thing I was having like an argument with myself, and I'm like, I've never felt this nervous for anything. Like, how can I feel this way? And I was just like, nah, actually, my favorite sport's football. And I actually, I got into the schoolyard, stayed for about 10 minutes, and I left because I felt so sick. And I bring it up on my November 16 documentary. Me and my mate made signs. We stood in the middle of one of the busiest roads in Brisbane. It was like, honk if you love the Socceroos, 7 p.m. tonight. And we stood, I don't know what, we were just trying to start hype in the middle of the street. And I stood there from like, I don't know, 12 p.m. till like 6 p.m. before the game. What? And I remember shaking, like dry retching. Even at that moment, I realized, even though I hadn't gone through all the horrible years, like, this is so important what happens tonight. Like, and they won. I remember crying, like grabbing my mate and just realizing like, this is who I am. Like, this game is like, nothing makes me feel this way. And
how old were you at that time?
So I was 2005. I was 15. And then and then the next moment, like I said, I still played AFL. Like, and then it was a Friday night. The first game was Germany Costa Rica, and we had a really important game. And I was one of the better players in the squad. And I said to my boss, my coach, I can't play Friday night. He said, why not? I'm like, World Cup's on. Like, what? And I was like, I have to watch every game. I can't miss a game. And he was like, get the fuck out of here. You're not, it's a fucking soccer. And I'm like, it's football.
It's football, dickhead.
Yeah,
I quit.
I walked out, and it was like all these little moments that up, and then 06 happens. And like, I still look back. I was doing a lot of research for this A-League monologue I did on Oz football. And that 12 months was like, it's insane how special that was. Like, our first World Cup in 32 years, our first goal, our first our points, I should say, our first like round of 16, like that month was that. Besides the Women's World Cup, I think it's the happiest this country's ever been. Like, it was.
Do you know what's fascinating too about that is we were so engulfed in that Socceroos team in that era that I remember articles and things being published on Hiddink's way of thinking of how one day, like how he chose Viduka to be captain, how in this game he didn't start XYZ and he played like when he didn't start Kuhl against Croatia or whoever it was, where he missed it, where he didn't start a game, stuff like that. It would like, I was like, we were so deeply aware of what was going on to a whole new level. It kind of makes it interesting as well how important winning can be.
Well, I think it's fascinating.
Do you have the same
I don't
experiences?
know. I genuinely, I had dinner with the A-League the other night, and I was speaking to someone who's very high up, and he was there, and I said, like, how was it knowing, like, I always go on about this, like, whenever I meet someone who's older than me in the football space, like, I'm just like, tell me what it was like in the 80s and 90s. How hard was it? Because I didn't have to go through it. I fell in love with the game in the early 2000s as it kind of was going up. But I genuinely can't imagine what 96. if I'd been as into football as I am, and 97 happened after 28 years or whatever it was, 24 years. I would have had, and I don't want to exaggerate, I would have been considered in my life maybe. I don't know. Can you imagine?
It's
if
insane.
you love this game that much, and then you're 2-0 up with less than 20 minutes to go, then some prick comes, you've got no fucking, the NSL's on its knees, it's not mainstream at all, Channel 7's buried it, everyone laughs at it, you're finally there, we're going to the French World Cup, and it gets taken away from you and you really love the game. Like, I don't know, like I genuinely think, I can't even fathom what that was like, that 97. So everyone I meet, I just go, where were you? What was running through your mind? How did you even get through? Maybe I just would have stopped watching football.
Well, I think it's interesting from my side. You said that we were so aware of it. I was completely oblivious to what was going on. I just thought, the football's on, that's cool. And then like, oh yeah, cool. Like he's a good player. That's pretty cool. And just fell in love with it like that without knowing the context of like, soccer's struggling and it's, kids are getting bullied because it's not cool and all. I didn't know all that.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating also from the side of to think that how hard people would have had it to build the game up to where it is now. And how, it's just a mainstay now, and we watch it on TV.
Something everyone has to, like, it's a cliche, respect your elders, but anyone who's involved in football in the 80s and 90s, I'm in awe of, and I just want, like, I have so much time for, because we don't, and you've spoken about this in the last few pods, about, like, also, like, just not, when people are like, oh, football's fucked and all, it's like, well, hold on, take a step back for 25 years ago, 5 World Cups in a row, probably 6, biggest ever Women's World Cup ever. We've got a national league on TV. Yes, it has its issues, but still brings us incredible moments. We've got fucking FIFA's the highest sold game in the country. The Matilda's kit is the highest sold kit in the country. Got a massive deal with Nike. There is so much to be positive about that we kind of forget about because we've had it so good for so long. Like, making the World Cups are just normal now.
Which is weird for me because I'm like the generation coming through. Like, to an extent, you said we kind of missed it. And we did, but even that one qualification where I was into the Socceroos in 01, where we missed out with Uruguay, that built enough hatred in my heart to like get so deeply emotional to the Socceroos. Imagine how many years
for who? Uruguay.
No, sorry, the Socceroos, how we lost.
I built you hatred what, for the game? Or?
No, for like the Socceroos of like we're never going to go to a World Cup.
Yep.
Like I tasted that one,
just
sort
one.
of like that one. That's my point. Tasted one. I'm like. Imagine all of these fans that have been following since 74 or whenever it was.
I can't imagine. And if you actually understand the heartbreak, 94 we missed out. We played Argentina. We got a draw in Sydney and we lost to an own goal at, I think it was the Bombonera, it was a Maradona cross, and I think it was Alex Tobin accidentally. Like, we lost a Maradona Argentina with an own goal. 1990 we lose to Scotland. I think it was 2-0 in Scotland, but we had a really good squad at that time. The only reason we didn't get through, they wanted to play it at Darwin on a bumpy pitch at midday. That was the whole plan. And the Soccer Australia, to give us the
they wanted to give us the upper hand. Yeah.
Soccer Australia wanted to, who the coach at the time wanted to, but Soccer Australia needed the money and put it on Olympic Park at night time in winter in Melbourne, and the Scots loved it. Alex Ferguson was the coach at the time, and it was 0-0, I think. It was a draw. But the point was, if we had played it in Darwin and we didn't need the money at the time, again, I want to get into this later, but like, again, it's just all about talking. I reread Vinny's book on the plane here, and like, he puts it so well, and God, I want to break down that book because it is so good. Vinny Regari.
Oh,
okay.
The Ange book.
Right.
But like, in 2003, I was like, this is insane. We play the qualifier for the Confederations Cup, right? We play New Zealand. The Soccer Australia has so little money that they, or maybe 2002, when's the World Cup? 2002. So 2001 Confed Cup. They have to ask the European-based players, you need to pay your own way. We don't have enough money to get you there.
Oh my God.
They say only Scott Chipperfield goes. We lose and we miss out on $3 million that we needed. Like, surely they would have got a bank
Tight
loan.
asses?
Not Tyler.
No, the players.
Yeah.
Just fucking go play for Australia.
Like Kevin Muscat. So if you said
That's a weird thing from a player point of view. It's like, where do you put the... Like,
Where's the line?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing with the Jamaican kid at Villa. What's his name? He was saying that
Bailey.
they won't put me on flights and stuff. But the point is, like, 20 years ago, we couldn't afford to fly the men back. Now the women fly first class. Like, this game has come so far, and we're actually so much better off. We're just the way we all live now. Everything's in such small time capsules. I'm trying not to go off tangents, but what was I even talking about?
Well, no, I was
We were up to 2005.
Yeah, shit.
Take us to.
No, we were talking about how engulfed we were in the Socceroos, and how special that period was of that, like 1.5-2.5 months, and then I cut you off.
Just those 6. I mean, again, that is another great stat. The biggest ever deployment of Australians to Europe since World War II. Germany was the 2006 German World Cup.
Hell yeah.
40,000 Aussies. You look at those, again, my mum wouldn't let me go. So I had tickets to Uruguay, the playoff, but I got suspended from school. Classic.
Wow.
And, that was one of the reasons we left Melbourne, because no high school was going to let me and my brother in. But that's a story for another.
Fuck, were you doing?
We were nutcases as well. That's why I also kind of love Brisbane, because it humbled me and my brother. Because like 2 brown kids going to a school where everyone's like white, 6 foot, and plays rugby. Like, made us realize like, we can't be like the.
We ain't tough.
We ain't tough. Yeah, I realized that, and again, that's why I've also got like a love for Brisbane, because Brisbane also got me out of the myth that is Melbourne sporting culture, that AFL is what it is. Like,
it's intoxicating.
This city is actually like,
it's a bubble.
I try to explain it. It's like the city's been lobotomized, and like they've, and we're gonna get into that. And like they're all like, biggest sport in the world, matter of time. No, it is never leaving these borders, and it's actually a great sport. I played it most of my life, but it means nothing outside of these borders, and this lie you live that it's gonna make it, and the way you. And I'm not talking about supporters either. I need to really like separate that. It's the administration, and we'll get into that. There's a book I've just been reading here. I came to get Joe Gorman's book on Oz football, and then I put up this book called The Boys Club, and I implore everyone to read it as much as Vince Regari's book, The Boys Club, written by an AFL journalist who was basically after what happened with Essendon and the doping.
The doping stuff.
And it is about the mafia that is the AFL and the way their claws are in every institution in this country. Government, social, power brokers, corporate, and they fuck everyone and their own to make sure that this sport, no one can even have the crumbs. And
and the epicenter is in Melbourne though.
Oh yeah, AFL House. And what they do, like, it would make you. I've read like 6 chapters, and it's just like this is written by someone who loves AFL, but like they are the country's bullies. They are a mafia essentially, and we. Again,
do you know who they remind me of? They remind me of the NFL, because the NFL's got a very similar
setup.
I've heard this, but I think the NFL are pretty friendly with like other at least with football.
Well, maybe with other codes, because seasons don't clash with, I think, NBA and baseball. It might be, but they do have this like very much superpower, like the Colin Kaepernick situation. Is one component. The concussion aspect of the game, that like the things that they sweep under the rug to prevent the branding from coming down, very similar to AFL.
But I think I'm thinking, even from my perspective, right? I'm a consumer. I'm a normal person. I'm not in the AFL. I'm not a supporter. But the media is incredible at driving that narrative, and incredible at blinding you from what's happening in the rest of the world, sporting wise, and in the rest of the country. It's like, AFL is everything, because that's all I see in the media.
It's not.
You know,
it's not. Again, he didn't want to tell you. He didn't bring it up, but Simon Hill told me a story. I told you about this, about where I don't want to get the stations wrong, and obviously we're going to say allegedly to make sure everything's all right, but essentially he told me a story of how when he was at SEN's like the radio sports station here, essentially SEN were like negotiating for the AFL's new deal, and the AFL basically, part of their thing was like, you need to stop reporting on you need to cut your A-League reporting, and they were like, well, what's that got to do with anything? We don't want you reporting on the A-League, and essentially they were told, like, if you want to win the rights, cut down on the A-League, and that is just the beginning of, like, they do it to the NRL, they do it to everyone. And the thing I always bring up is, like, again, I hated rugby league because I was like, I can't stand this game. This is the game that all the people bullied me. But as I've gotten older, I've realized, like, actually NRL doesn't really have that same kind of like world domination. We must destroy everything else. They're kind of like, we know who we are. We're like the working class bogan sport. But we are who we are. We're from the working class tables of Australia.
Yeah.
The AFL is like this thing of like, no, we must dominate everyone and everything. I check the papers every day while I'm here. The front page yesterday is about how well the NRL women's is doing with the State of Origin crowd. Still nothing compared to Matilda's. But the whole article is about how the AFL must find their own versions of that to keep up. It's like, why must they? Why must they dominate and destroy everything and be on top of everyone? Why can't anyone breathe? And this is written by a journalist, because there is this thing in the world of AFL structures where it's like, we must crush everything and just, it's complete control. Yeah. And there's a guy I've told you I want to bring on. He speaks about it much better than I do.
Yeah.
He's not on Twitter anymore, but like the history of it is like screw everyone and everything. The World, and I'll bring it up. I'll pull the book out later. The Boys Club, the chapter on the World Cup and what they did to make everyone knows the.
Yep.
In Google the Ron Barassi picture of him crushing.
We spoke about this on here. Yeah.
The AFL basically like, you don't get to have a World Cup in this country unless you build us another stadium in Melbourne. Like we have to. The Olympics, the Lions get a new stadium. What's Football Australia again? In this book it talks about the Suns. The Suns stadium costs about 146 million. 100 million. The government, the state, federal, and Gold Coast Council paid for.
Do you know what? It's funny on this. This is going off topic because we're talking about AFL, but there's a new team, Tasmania, coming in, and it's going to cost them about $1 billion to build the new stadium.
$1 billion?
And who's them? Who's them?
The government.
Exactly.
And
the AFL.
And the people of Tasmania now have pushed back, saying, "Hold on a second, like we're all for a team here, but like we don't have hospitals. Like that road needs fixed. All this shit. Yeah. So now
we don't even have a
now
McDonald's.
The decision is going to Parliament." To like warrant, why are we putting all this funding into an AFL stadium?
Mark my words, the AFL will get whatever
You're
they
probably
want.
right.
Can I ask
They
you
will
what
get
your
whatever they
thoughts are?
want.
And this is obviously your opinion. Do you think the undertone or the reason for that always comes back to money? Because they want money?
It's money and power. It's this insecurity. Because I used to be on that thing about it's a matter of time before football takes over. Football's never going to take... I've actually come to this more mature realization of football is never going to take over. It's just we are up against too much history, too much bias, too much racism, you could even say, too much just ignorance and a lobotomized sporting culture, as I said. But it's not even that we need to take over. Like, I would love it if football could just be a sport that doesn't have to suffer what it suffers. Like, let us just be this great thing in the off-season. No, you can't have that. The Herald Sun gave the City the back page. The first ever Melbourne Derby Grand Final. Fair play. The Age gave us nothing. The Herald Sun the next day, front page was the Western match fixing scandal.
Yeah,
Make no mistake who told them to put that in there and said, "Oh, do your thing." Like, make no mistake who got them. That is not in the reader's interest.
You reckon?
I again, it's all, as you said, it's all opinion. But pass me my bag. I'll pull you out. I'm going to pull you out this chapter that I read that speaks about the 2010 World Cup and what the AFL. They've got a department whose job is literally to protect the AFL and at the same time, get everyone else. Like, look out to bring down everyone else. I'm surprised.
These ones are one of those
Because
ones.
you know
You
what's
didn't see that?
you know what's interesting about your perspective, Ellie, of we don't need to compete. We just let us be our thing. I think Simon Hill has had a similar perspective. Like, let's not compete. Let's just have our own
There's
thing.
no point
right?
trying to compete.
But I think they realise that if you allow football, as in soccer, to be its own thing, it will be bigger.
No, it won't, brother. The AFL's average crowds are like, it goes Premier League, Bundesliga, then AFL. Oh, sorry, NFL, Premier League, Bundesliga, AFL. It's the fourth biggest in the world. They've got like
Collingwood has the most members in the world.
in the
of any
world, like
sporting team.
Hawthorn have like most AFL clubs have 100,000 memberships. We're never going to hit that. We are just never going to get close. But they don't even want us to have a crumb. I used to think that and believe that. Then I realized actually that plays into what they want. Then it's kind of like justified that they're like, well, we got to protect our own. It's like, you're not trying to protect your own. You want dominance. You want a hegemony. You want to just like
Monopoly.
eat everything, and that's why that they in every department they are just determined to screw us. And I have someone I'm very close with who worked very high up in Victoria Sport, and they used to think I was just delusional. Blah blah blah. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, by the way. I'm fully vaccinated. I'm not on that vibe. But they said to me, like, if you were a fundamentalist before, he's like, if you knew what I knew and I've seen it now, you'd be an extremist. He's like, it's out of control. He just said they are so insecure. They've got Victoria government by the balls. Like, they'll do whatever, whenever they need money. We saw it with the victory, with that park, the victory we're meant to have. Now it's going to be an AFL park. This book speaks about the athletics, where Collingwood played, the Lexus Centre, whatever
Lexus
that was.
Centre, yeah.
That was the Olympic athletics field. Collingwood wanted it. They were kicked out and moved to Albert Park. Too bad the AFL wants it. But this is from chapter 14 of the Boys Club, where he basically speaks about I'll try and read it as fast as I can. Australia's bold bid to host Soccer's World Cup kindled a wave of patriotic spirit. Aussie A-listers Nicole Kidman, Hugh Jackman, Elle Macpherson and Mark Webber fronted a global campaign launched by the Football Federation Chairman Frank Lowy in 2009. It's an extraordinary opportunity for us to showcase Australia to the world, declared the beaming Prime Minister Kevin Rudd. The bid was in full swing when a member of the AFL's media unit hooked up for a coffee with a Fairfax investigative journalist in early 2010. An AFL strategist had completed an internal briefing paper into the likely impacts of a FIFA World Cup staged on Australian soil. Why are you even doing an investigation to that? And his research included insights into two controversial lobbyists, Peter Haggerty and Fedor Radman, hired by FFA to secure the globe's biggest sporting event. The pair, it was later revealed, stood to receive up to 11 million in fees and bonuses if Australia's bid was successful. According to an insider, the information passed on to the Fairfax reporter by the AFL set in train an award-winning investigation that would help derail the FFA's $47 million taxpayer-funded World Cup. The Age had no real interest in the story until they were tipped off. There was a lot of ill feel. Now, that just sums it up. There was no need for that story, but they were like, hey, you should probably report on this. They don't report on it, maybe the AFL gives them the left. Yeah, just to jeopardize it. I can see them being like, Melbourne Derby's getting a lot of coverage. Hey, by the way, have you heard about this one? And also the media giants are in bed with the AFL because it's the city and states and the country's most popular sport.
So can I push back on that thing of why do you not see then soccer to have the potential of what it does everywhere else in the world here?
It just won't ever be the biggest sport, and that's fine.
Like for example, if we have a men's World Cup here, surely there's an impact on the younger generation of all the footy fans that go to the 100,000 people going to Collingwood games, all their kids.
I've seen it. It's the other games are too part of the culture. There are Melbourne Demons are like 160 or 70 years old. They go back through generations as part of this country's culture. The music, the sayings, everything's like around football and cricket and rugby league. That's just the way it is. And it used to upset me. It's like, that's just the way it is. But it's that we can't even breathe and have our own thing that makes me so upset.
It's the same thing with soccer in America.
You know what it is as well? We always speak about how we can convert AFL fans into soccer, football fans. And it's definitely, it's a thing. It happened with me. But then there is also a massive flip side of soccer people that love footy and that go down that route. Even Jake, I've experienced it, and this has nothing to do with the boys because I love them at Sandy. On the sidelines, checking the footy scores while Sandy's playing.
Yeah, it's part of the culture.
It's part of the culture. It's like we're checking the Collingwood scores when you're on the bench for a fucking...
But that's all right, and I get that. I was at the...
There's nothing wrong with it, but I'm just saying that they're always going to be there. As number one.
But that's fine. And that's
who cares?
Yeah,
who cares? I don't care.
I like you said, we're apart. So realistically, like the AFL's in 4 states, bro. Like it's huge here, but we're 25 million people.
Yeah.
So like we're actually part of something much bigger that doesn't really need to be number one in this country.
Well, that's exactly
we just need to be able to cook.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, but they don't want to. Like I said, like they have a unit that meets up with reporters and goes, "Hey, by the way, here's one to fuck that." You know that code that's just trying to breathe, that's trying to get just like a back page for their grand final. They've had a grand final, so now we got to give them the upside and make sure we. It's just insane, and it's just your memberships have never been higher. Your TV ratings have never been higher. The government builds you a stadium in every city. Darwin's supposedly next.
Yeah, and but you're still worrying.
You're still worrying, and you're still trying to screw us, and that's why I can't stand it. I can't watch it. It makes me feel sick that like. Again, I love the sport. I grew up playing it. It's in my fam. But I just look around and think like, all this code does is just try and screw us out of having the best time of our life. And that's the thing. It's like, again, I haven't lived in this country for a decade, but like everyone tells me, 2023 that winter was the happiest this country's been in a long time.
Bro, I was so fucking mad.
It was like the happiest this country's been.
Yeah.
The AFL will never give us that. Cricket will never give us that. Rugby, not because they're not great in their own way. You cannot do what football does. You just cannot do it.
Ali, I was in a fucking Nigerian restaurant in Carlton, right, with a bunch of Nigerians as the only guy supporting the Matildas in there, watching Nigeria beat the Matildas in that group stage game. That is, you can't get that anywhere else. No. That's just not. Even the fact that I was like, Friday... You went to a few games as well, didn't you?
I intentionally went to as many as I could.
Yeah. The fact that I was like, oh my God, I could go watch a World Cup game on Friday at 1 p.m. Like Canada versus Germany or whatever.
That's the one I went to.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it was.
I should also say, going into that, the World Cup, we were never going to get it. We weren't corrupt enough, and everyone's corrupt. It's not. So that whole point is that they reported on us basically giving funds to these people who would help us get it. It's not illegal, but it's probably not. It's not that on.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
But you didn't need to do that. You wanted to screw us by trying to make us build another stadium, by making it as hard as possible. You didn't just try and stop football from enjoying. You tried to stop Australians from having the biggest event
Ever. Yeah.
Like, and that's your own supporter base. That's what I'm trying to say. I remember this is years ago. The Victory, they did like a poll, and it was like 70% of Victory members are also AFL members.
Yes.
There are so many AFL fans who love football. You will screw them just to make sure they can't get a bit of happy. It's like that's why I say lobotomized. It's like, you will like this sport and maybe a bit of cricket in the summer. That is it. Don't look outside. Don't look around. We can't have you even know about it.
But they love international. They like not every, but a lot of AFL clubs, even Carlton, were posting about Ange winning the Europa League. The other day I saw Isaac Quainer singing that World Cup the French song. We've spoken about this all the time. That one.
That's an interesting point, man. Because within the last 2 years, probably
Bro,
there's been
the
a
Sallies
shift with. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, why that's going to happen? Because, and I say this is why they can't stop it, and the big change being the internet. In the old days, they could run all your three institutional kind of media formats: radio, TV, and paper. They were the three, and they ran them, right? But the internet, no one can control it anymore. FIFA is the most sold game in Australia, and I've said this for years. It's the Trojan horse into every kid now who just knows all the clubs and plays foot. Twitter. Every kid knows speed. Yep. Speed has made football cool. I'm just talking about that. UK rap's massive. They're all wearing football jerseys. Like, you can't tell people what's cool anymore. And so, I wouldn't even say this generation, the generation before us, like, football is now a thing where, I remember I got stopped once by one of the Super 14 rugby union guys. He recognised me. And he had a PSG kit on. This was in Australia somewhere. I'm like, you like football? He's like, yeah, man, we all play FIFA. And I was like, oh, FIFA, again, and I say this so many times as well, everyone is a football fan, they just don't realise it. You just have if you're a sports fan. There are certain people who don't like sports, I get that. But if you like sports, the concept of sport, especially club sport, or that idea of feeling of you're part of something and you're against someone else, then football is for you, because football is everything. Everything that we love about every sport, football has that on steroids. And for good and bad reasons as well. Like, what happened in Paris the other day doesn't really happen. It actually does happen in other sports. But like, football also brings horrible stuff, as you guys have talked about. It makes people act in ways that no other sport does, and we shouldn't celebrate. But the reality is, everything you love about sport, if you like sport, then football is your sport. You're just either in denial or you haven't clocked it yet. You haven't watched a game enough. You haven't played FIFA. You haven't learned a story. You haven't heard a chant. Like I said, if you don't get into football, you're missing out on all these cool songs. You're missing out on all these references. You're missing out on commentary. Like, as you were saying now, commentary's going viral. It's inevitable that as we become a more globalized world, each generation will get more into football, because if you're not into football, then you're missing out on so many references and points and cultural moments.
Yeah, I even look up the street I grew up in that I'm still currently living. All of us when we were younger, we only played footy in the street. Now, a new family has moved across the road. They have 2 boys. They're kicking the soccer ball all the fucking time. They're big Arsenal fans. And then the boy next door to me as well, dudung, on the fence. And I just look at it and I think it's funny how this has changed, because this street used to be purely AFL.
Yep.
And now, because of stuff like FIFA, TikTok, speed, this, that, whatever. Okay, some people, it's not palatable for them. Like, oh, shut the fuck up, what does speed know? It doesn't matter, because really it just brings eyes to the game regardless. And
that's why I'm all for it.
Yeah, and people, but I want to get back to your story, because I love how you got the COPA job. Can we sort of skip forward?
Just skip forward, yeah. I'm a nutcase for football. That was 2013. That was like peak soccer Twitter.
Yes.
That was like my world. That was my community. I got big because Massimo Madoka, you know Mass?
Yes.
Used to come to my restaurant, which is probably going to come a lot. I worked at a restaurant, basically. I was studying film and TV, but I didn't take it seriously. All I did was work at this really popular restaurant in Brisbane and bet on football. and then basically what happens is the Raw boys start coming in there, and I'm like, whenever they came in, I looked after them, and they'd have to hear this kind of spiel from a much younger.
I just want my pasta, man.
Yeah.
Wait, so this is dominant Brisbane.
What's that?
This is
Dominant Brisbane.
Raw, brother.
Yeah, Raw Salona.
I've got a picture of me serving Ange pizza. Like, Jack Hingett, Mitch Nichols, all those boys will know me. They'll probably get a headache if you mention me. They'll be like, bro, just get us the fucking my Papa Deli, bro.
Get me my Papa Deli, bro.
I swear Michael Zula used to like not want to sit wherever I was.
He's my mate, so I can tell
He probably listens to this.
But no, basically, Mass sits down. I give him a rant. I saw him at the grand final. It was so nice to see him because obviously he had moved back down to Melbourne in the time everything happened. But he did a tweet like, "This fucking kid's Eli Mengem. He's the next Les Murray." Da 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 da.
Fuck.
And then everyone started following me, and everything changed. I started like really becoming like a big part of the community to the point where I was obsessed with Twitter. I had to put it away. And this one guy, David, I shouldn't remember his, I just need to catch up with him. I bought him a present. He retweets like this, I wouldn't mind the best job in the world. And COPA and Ani were looking for a presenter for the 2013 Confed Cup. And I banned myself from Twitter after midnight, but I couldn't sleep because my neighbor was having my Chilean neighbor, Colo Colo fan, was having a party. And I got out of bed, picked my mates up. I'm like, start storyboarding. I need to win this competition. Because I had been in a competition 4 years earlier for the 2010 World Cup with SBS and the Green and Gold Army, where you had to make that's a documentary in itself. Basically, they were looking for 2 presenters to go to the South Africa World Cup. Again, I was like, I'm winning this. I stopped everything, made this video, got into the top 5. Ironically, out of the 5, I think 4 of us are all still in media. Someone's a getaway host. I'm not sure
there you
Getaway's
go.
still going. Another girl's massive in New York, in like the New York football coach stuff. Me and 2 others. And we got into the top 5, and they basically gave us a weekend to essentially make a story on a sports event. And in Brisbane at the time, there was only rugby league, and I've never been to rugby league. I was like, I'm not entering a rugby league stadium. But I knew all the Brisbane Lion players, again, because they came to this restaurant. So I called up, what's his name? Jonathan Brownie?
Jonathan. Right.
If I come to Sydney, can I get an interview? He's like, yeah, righto. I go to Sydney. This is such good, and I've still got the tapes. It was when Fev was at Brisbane Lions, and he'd just been banned for the Lower Bingle photo.
Yep, bro.
And he's like, I can get you Fev. And the media were banned from speaking to Fev. They snuck me up. And me, with my little afro, and I was sweating, me and my mate are interviewing Fev. He's got to be on something. He wouldn't stop touching my leg. And it's me and
Your
Fev.
leg?
Yeah, my leg. He
Sounds
was off
about
his head.
like Fev.
He was off his head. I look back and I'm like, it's insane they let this like 21-year-old and his mate, who basically they know because he serves them pizza. We basically reported on the Lions versus Sydney Swans. I tried to hype it up as like a derby somehow, but I was like, they're going to be so impressed because they told us it on the Thursday night.
Yeah.
That was the test. Like, you've got 72 hours to make a document. And everyone else did their local thing.
Wait, is this for 2010 or 2013?
2010. This is for 2010.
Oh, this is for 2010.
So this is the basis though of why I made what I made in 2013.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we're going to shock them. We're going to go to Sydney. Like, no one's going to fly. We got on flights. We're interviewing Fev. I've made like a SBS The World Game like clipboard. I'm doing like quick questions with Fev. We incorporated this whole video. We get all the Lions boys. We're not in the change rooms, but we're in the tunnel and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. I'm like, we're going to win. Like, I'm going to South Africa. I'm going to the World Cup. And then I get the call. The first call was like you've made it to the final 3. We got some more questions. Stupidly, I went on a spiel about News Corp and how the agenda against football. I should have just shut my mouth. But then the next call was you're in the final 2. And then it was like, and I'm like, here's the call, da da da. I remember where I was standing in Brisbane, the Valley. It's like, we had to, you come second. You're the other, and I was like, no, I can't. And they're also like, how did you get Favola? Like, he's on a media blacklist. And they were like in shock that we got him. And I just was sure I was going to win. And I remember like I went home like genuinely on the verge of throwing up. I got a $10,000 loan out, bought a giant TV, plonked it in my room, and took the month off work and just watched every game in my bedroom and didn't leave my room for the whole of June. But I made a vow that if that ever comes up again, I'm going to the World. I'm going to win it. And so when that came out, I quit work, quit uni, quit everything. You can still see the video. I sound Aussie in that, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Have you seen the video?
Well, you fucking did better than me because I also put a video towards him.
What, in 2013?
Yeah.
You were part of that. There's quite a few. Jack, Jack, mate? He was in that.
Who?
Jack Mate, he's like massive.
Jack Mate?
He's got like a Jack's Happy Hour podcast, I think it's called. He's huge in the UK. A lot of like people who have blown up made something in that video. But yeah, I basically pulled out all the stops. It's that whole thing about being a football fan in Australia over 24 hours, waking up at 4 a.m. and everything's football.
Yeah, no, that's
like
smart.
I had a whole cast of like 40 people. I had flares going off, and that one.
Wait, where is this
It's on
video
YouTube.
access?
Yeah, you can see
On
it.
YouTube?
It's on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't
If
realize
you
it
watch
was accessible.
Yeah. So it's this whole thing about like, my whole thing was like, I don't have a team. I don't have a player I like. I just love it for the anthropological side of the game. I'm literally on top of a car as it's moving with a flare going off. It's like all these different points of my life, like what football. It's really cringy now, but it was 12 years ago. So it's the final 3. The story in itself is great because then they took them all down and they said the winner will be whoever gets the most views. We're going to put them back up, and then you've got a week to get them, not likes, views. But that meant like if I was like, can you please watch this video, but don't watch the other ones? Like a vote was a view was a vote.
Yeah.
Because at COPA was still young and they were trying to get as many views as possible and people to see them. So they wanted you to share it as much as possible. But that week that they were sending me out there was me and 10 of my mates were going to Japan for the World Cup qualifier to go to Brazil. And I was like, I'd been looking forward to that for a year. And I basically said, I'm out. I can't do this. I'm about to have the holiday of my life and it'll ruin. I know me. I'm too anxious. Because I was obsessed. And they were like, no, do it. Turns out they decided no matter what I was going because my video was like levels above. The other twos were like nice, but it was like Dom talking about how like he likes Sydney and Arsenal and Frimpong's shot in his bedroom. Mine had like maybe 25 locations, about 40 extras. Like I maxed out my credit card to make that film.
Man, what a cool story, bro. I've got
Amazing,
so many
bro.
questions. That's amazing, man.
So I
That's
won
amazing.
it on. They told me I won. Oh, it gets better. The stopover in Malaysia to Japan. When we left, we were all on, let's say, 1,000 views. And you guys see what I do now. Like I knew this was meant for. My brother always talks about it. He was one of the ones I picked up that night from the house to like tell him. He said like you were literally like on drugs. You were like, I'm going to Brazil. I'm not losing this time. And the stopover was in Malaysia on the way to Japan for the World Cup qualifier. When we land, he's on 10,000. I'm on 5,000. Dom's on 5. When we get to Japan, he's on 100 and we're both on 20. And I was like, I just knew me. I'm like, this is going to ruin my holiday. You know, I was a waiter. Like, I'd saved up so much for this. I can't. This is my dream that's gone again. I know I'm right for this job. And I got some great inside stories here. But so I'd have these Zoom calls with the COPA producers being like, I don't want to do this. Sorry. It's breaking my heart. And they're like, please stick with it. We need you to go to the Brazilian embassy and apply for a visa just in case you win. And I was like, he's 100,000 ahead of me. And like, I just don't want this. And they're like convincing me. And I'm like, I'm in this thing, like, just like, this is pointless. And then about 5 days in, they tell me we've looked into the views. They're like 1 second views in India. He's bought views.
Never buy views.
Never buy views. By the way, he denies it still to this day. He's a mate of mine, Frimpong. He's huge. He's his biggest cop, and I know he's Arsenal's social media guy. He's perfect for what he does. He was never going to kind of do what I did. He's awesome. Like, and he actually, we did another competition 5 years later that I hosted that he was part of. But the funniest story was I had to go to the Brazilian app because they were going to send me straight to Brazil for the Confed Cup. They also were like, the second I told them I'm going to Australia for I can't do this competition because I'm going to be at a World Cup qualifier, 10-hour flight away. They were like, this is the guy, man. He lives this. Like,
you got the best of both worlds in the end.
Wow,
yeah, but
man.
I was having to do. A good story about that is they had me going to the Brazilian embassy to try to get a visa because there wasn't enough time to go home. But the Brazilian embassy needed all these documents that I didn't have, so I was having to Skype. Again, this is like before FaceTime and stuff. So I had to Skype my mom, and I'm like, "Can I use like your internet?" Like, no, you have to go to an internet cafe. There was none. They sent me to a sex shop. Where I'm in, like, this is like how weird like my life is like at that
This
moment.
is in Japan.
It's in Japan. There's literally a dildo on a wall that I've had to like put the thing off. Tissue box on the other wall in this booth that like men wank in, where I'm having to like Skype my mum to be like, Skype doesn't even exist anymore. Like, hey, yeah, can you get me my birth certificate? Yeah, I need you to like, yeah, you need to sign the thing. What's on the wall? It's tissue.
Don't worry about it.
Japan's a weird
I'm in
place.
Starbucks.
Yeah, I'm in Starbucks are different here, but like, no, because there was no internet cafe, and the nearest place with a computer booth, like I literally had 4 hours to get the visa approved, and like no one spoke English. It was either Japanese or Portuguese, and then that was my life from that moment. Like these bizarre moments. I've never like I won the job, went to Brazil for 5 weeks. Everyone left comments like give him a full-time job, and the next thing you know,
Wow.
Hold on. And you don't have to say anything because she's your friend. But the best part about this is he got to work with Maya Jama early doors. And
yeah.
that's my favourite part about That's my favourite part about this whole thing. But anyway, that's for another day.
Man, it's an incredible story. like when you come top 2 and you lost the SBS one, what was your, like, can you take us to your feeling at that time?
I just don't know how to say it without sounding arrogant. Like, I know I'm the best in the world at what I do in terms of how I see football and document it, and I just knew no one. I think how everyone wanted me to win it just so I'd fuck off and leave Brisbane and stop ranting them about it. Like, I was known.
Yeah, bro, good luck.
Like, I was just. Since I clocked what football was and how I saw football, it is like, again, and not as a sport. Like, if you talk about tactics, the best way to sum me up, I always bring it up, is I did the 2018 our World Cup 11, and I did 12 players. Because I did the formation. I did like a 4-5-2. But I don't know about that shit.
You wanted the upper hand.
I just don't know football like that. Like, I don't care for
even to this point.
Nah,
You surely have been
I know enough.
now.
Like, I know enough, but I still don't know enough to like really. I don't know most players. Like, I know the good players and the cult players, but I just don't give a shit.
So if you're watching football, you like that fullback's not inverting.
I don't know what inverting. I still don't know what inverting.
Love that.
You know what it is though, bro?
That is the
But
voice.
I'm looking at, like, I know which ultras and what that banner means.
Yeah.
And I know that fucking coach's story with their kid, like, or whatever.
And this is what me actually meeting Jerome gave me was maybe, I don't know, you too. I don't know if you looked at football in a different way in Argentina, but I never looked at football through your lens, where it was very fan emphasis of like what's going on, like with the Chelsea fan base, with the hierarchy, with worrying about, you know, the victory fans, how people are thinking and what's important to them. I never looked at that,
Bro.
I didn't, like, that's never been a thing for me.
That's why I was screaming on the podcast when you guys were like, how can he not want Ants to win? I'm like, what's wrong with this? Literally the song they sing before every game is we hate Tottenham, Chelsea. Like, no matter what, like, for him, it's fucked. But they
only say that because I'm not from there, though.
No, I get it. But one of the reasons I got you that, you love Chelsea for all your faults. Like,
For my faults.
No, great start.
Every day, it's like I'll see he's just on an Instagram story like 2 minutes ago. I'm like, isn't it like 6 a.m., 3 a.m.
Bro,
there? And he's like, fucking Nicholas Jackson. I'll fly over there and kill you myself. I'm like, bro, get to bed.
Yeah,
like it's gonna be all right. But where were we say? Yeah, I don't know shit. No, I do know enough about there's certain players like Kirkes this year. I'm like, that Kirkes guy is a fucking gun.
You know what it is, though?
I know enough, but I also don't like to talk about things I don't know. I feel like everyone likes to have an opinion. I can call out when someone doesn't know something about football culture. I'll clock it like that.
You're
So
on it.
I don't want to come across as I know. I think like Lamine Yamal in my group chats, I'm like, this is the closest thing I've ever seen to Messi personally. And what I said is why it looks like it for me is that he doesn't. When he crosses the ball, he has like no swing in his back leg. That's the best I do with analysis. I'm like, it never looks like he even pulls his leg that back.
That far back.
Yeah, but that's as good as I got.
Yeah, there you go. Smart.
Even
I want to hear what you. That's for you to tell me because I don't know this.
Well,
shit, you
I
know?
think Lamine Yamal's best 17-year-old footballer that's ever existed.
Yeah, and what is it that he does that?
He plays like he's 30. He plays like he's played for 20 years.
Yeah,
In regards to his gameplay mentality of positioning, reading situations of the game, like how he would play in the first minute to what he does in the last minute, is like he's knowing how to shut a game down, but he's knowing how to open one up. He's knowing when he should play Lewandowski. He's knowing, I've got two people here, usually 2v1s, I should pass the ball away because that's mathematically pretty hard, like much harder than a 1v1. But he knows in a 2v1, when he's earned the right in a game, that I'm just going to beat both of them. And then he knows I'm just going to flip it back to the fullback to keep the ball because our team needs to keep the ball. At 17.
See,
and all I think is, he doesn't swing his leg back that much. That's the beauty of football, that you take that, I take what I'm taking outside, and we both love the game.
Well, because I think it's like this, right?
I love this shit.
When you listen to music, it's like either you're a person that likes beats or you like lyrics. And if you're listening to lyrics, you're probably not focusing too much on the beats. And you hear it, but you're not, you know.
Like this sounds good, but it's like, bro, lyrically, did you hear what he's saying?
It's not what you're focusing 100% on, right? Like your main.
You know why I look at this is how I look at Yamal. I look at him like this is what I'm focused on, like child of the world, like Moroccan, Guinea, Spanish.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, he's got swag, he sags, he's shorts. Like his dad is the funniest cunt ever. Like hustle hard 304. Like hustle hard 304. Like he's from the hoods of Barcelona. Like that's how I think. Like you're the maddest cunt right now.
So that's why I think a lot of people connect with Jerome through this podcast because he's viewing it from a fan.
But you know what it is, Jake?
I'm like, I'm looking at like would I do that in that
You grew up in the
situation?
AIS, bro.
But
That's why. But that's a
No,
beauty.
but that's what makes you this pod. Like,
Yeah.
I've listened.
Maybe that's what makes
I
it
think
work.
I've listened to every episode, and like, it is such a nice array of different takes. Like, even though sometimes I'm like, how do you not know this and how do you not know that? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I actually like that you don't know that because then Jerome explains it.
Yeah.
Or someone else brings. I think it's a really good mixture of.
Can I ask you, Ellie, just on you mentioned before the Brisbane Roars probably wanted the Brisbane Roar players wanted you to get out or leave them alone,
Ask
just bring them their
I've got-
pizza.
yeah.
I'm wondering, like, when you were growing up, did you have the feeling of you obviously a very obsessive person,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
with
yeah.
something that you
Just
like?
a little bit.
Did you feel? Did you
they-
feel
they made
like
me go to
the
a therapist
bullying and stuff like that?
Because I was Richmond lost to Fremantle. I think it was the first
All
time.
teams.
I think
I still think
Fremantle.
he's obsessed with Richmond.
No. I'm obsessed with how obsessed I was with Richmond. I think we were the first team for Fremantle to beat away. And it was a Sunday afternoon. I was so distraught. Like, I was like, you know that when kids cry like, my mom was like, you need to see someone. You're off your head. Like, you're nuts. And
That was when we lost the Champions League final. My mum was consoling me in my room saying, are you
but I
want
was
to go to
7.
school?
How old were you?
Yeah, I don't know.
19.
Because
Last week.
I wonder, like, there's a certain narrative of like people that care a lot about
Yeah,
things
that-
are
Autism.
kind of losers.
Yeah.
Right, not to call you a loser.
No,
bro,
fair.
But,
Ballitis.
but
I'll
I was
call
like that.
yeah,
I was
ballitis.
like that. If I'm obsessed with something and I really care and I really try, as a kid, it's like the cool kids are the ones that don't try and
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
care
don't
about
care,
anything,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How did you deal with like? I'm assuming you got a lot of hate over these years, man. People telling you to leave them alone, people telling you shut up and all this stuff.
Leave who alone?
Like just don't care about things too
Nah,
much. Stop
I'm
being so
really-
obsessive.
I think I'm really lucky.
DMing you and stuff like that.
I'm so lucky that I say this a lot, like, I want to, like, knock on wood. But I get so little hate because I think people see, like, my love for the game is, like, genuine. Like, I don't have a club
broad.
or an allegiance. Like, I just want to celebrate everyone else's love for the game. Like, my love for the game is
Your
for
love
other
for the
people's love for the game. Like, it's like the way the people waking up at like 4 a.m. in the morning to watch like this club that really has no attachment to them because it's got them hooked, or people creating giant banners to do this or that, or like whatever. Like, it's just like, and every corner of the world doing it. And I think people see like, this guy genuinely just loves this game for what it is. Like, there's nothing in it for me. And I think people appreciate, and I try and say this, like, I'm not from this world. I didn't fall in love with it through a club or a player. As an outsider, I was like, what is this? That's why I'm like so almost like ferocious about the whole AFL thing. It's like, I'm from the AFL world. I was one of them. I was one of the like lobotomized. Like I say, I'm like a born again Christian. Like, I'm like, I found football against the odds, against what my family wanted, against like all my upbringing. Like, that's why I appreciate that I left Melbourne actually, because it's like, if I hadn't left Melbourne, I think I would have found football anyway, because it's just like, I don't understand how anyone who's into sport doesn't like football. I truly, because like I've said it again, it's just the best of everything. It's so international. It is that classic thing of you can get in a cab on any corner of the planet. I have been on a fucking tin boat in Panama talking about Turkey USA pre-World Cup friendly in 2014.
I was just telling you in the car how the only way I could speak to my girlfriend's dad, because he didn't speak English, was we played FIFA on PS1 and I would ask him sort of...
There was no reason to have a PS1 when you were dating.
yeah, was that?
I
It wasn't
just
mine,
imagine
cuz.
Jerome
It wasn't mine.
Playing
It was his,
a
bro.
non-English speaking girlfriend dad. And
Yeah.
their way of connecting was, I'll just start this thing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blow it on it, blow it on it.
This one.
What the hell?
Yeah, and fucking... It's...
And if it didn't work, well, you Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Mario Party today.
But even back to your point of like the obsession side of it, man, there was one point where I was so fucked. I still am. But there was one point where if I did a manager mode on FIFA, it would take me 2 hours to choose a team. Do you want to know why? I'd look where their fans were at on the political spectrum. I didn't want to go a far right team.
So you'd be Googling before you.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, I can choose from like Celtic, Marseille. I can choose, Livorno's there. Like, who do I? That's the levels I was taking it to.
No, I was that restaurant plays a big role in my life. But like the one of the bosses one time, I'd read every 442 that came out, and not just the Aussie one, the international one, which cost, I remember it was $24 because it got flown over from England.
Fuck me.
This is in 2010 when I got paid $10 an hour, and he's like, "Am I paying you just to buy $25 magazines, and my rule was, and I still to this day, I've read for 15 years, every page, first page to back page. I was obsessed. And even days I'm like, I don't find that this interesting, I'd make it a rule. I have to finish.
You
this
read
article.
every page of 442 till this day?
I've read every. So I've got to think back at. This is. What
You got
comes up.
ballitis.
I've got every football 442, World Soccer, and When Saturday Comes from 2010 to now in the office.
You love print though.
And I've electronically logged every single article. So whenever.
What does that even mean?
So basically, say I'm going to Finland. So when I finish the magazines each month, I've got a spreadsheet. And it's all 15 magazines for the last 15 years, and every article I log. So there, when I go to Finland, I'm like, I need to. Is there anything in the archive on Finland? I'll go to type Finland, Control F, and World Soccer August 2015 has a thing on HJK Helsinki, and then I get that. I contact the journalist, and then it's because a lot of people say to me, how do you get
this guy is one of my main inspirations. I know he hates people saying that and shit, but I'm going to say it anyway. But there is levels to this shit. Like I will never want to put in that much work.
But see, just to your point around what I think you do really well, and maybe you're aware it's a skill, and probably one reason why you don't say hate per se, is I think a real quality in society that's appreciated from people to people is when someone shows a real devout interest in them. Yeah. And so a lot of your content, you're almost becoming entrenched in something as if you were one of them, or so inquisitive that you wanted to be one of them, which is why no one can really hate on that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's really hard to hate on that, particularly from the side of the fence you're documenting. But
that's what I always
to the viewer.
Try. I want it that I say I make my stuff for two people, my audience or our audience, Copenhagen's audience, and the subjects. Like they're the two people I care about the most. And like, you know, also I'm not the easiest to work with. I'm sure you can already clock that. But like my rule is it's like, there's two things. It's a responsibility and it's a privilege. I can go anywhere I want in the world. In the last month, I've been 3 days before I came here. I was line biking around Barcelona at night before I flew out because I had an extra night. I wanted to stay in the town. We did a film in Sant Andrew coming out soon. Before that, I was in Arctic Circle. Before that, I was in Ireland. Before that, I was in Copenhagen. That's just this year, and that's like me going. COPA let me go wherever I want, but the reason they let me is because I understand the responsibility I have is that every episode must be a banger. Like I must know everything. That's also why I do this. It's like, I don't ever want to, and it was like that at the start before I was in charge of my projects. Like 90% of the time, I may be looking surprised. I still learn stuff, but I know more than most subjects, like the people I'm interviewing, because I'm like, I have to know everything. Yeah. Because it's like, I have a responsibility if I'm going to be allowed to do this, and B, it's such a privilege. And I try and get that through to my crew. It's like, we get to fly to these places, everything's paid for, and then we're not just there as tourists going to like the tourists. We are being led into places that like cameras have never been before. As I was talking to you earlier before the cameras were on, Hungary, they'd never let media into their ultras clubhouses. Portsmouth, that pub had never let cameras. They were like, no cameras in here. Then we told them we were with this guy Rob Sylvester, known as the General, like the ultimate hooligan. And they were like, there's no way he. And I could also feel. Fixer?
Oh, you're with Rob. Yeah, come on,
turn him on. No, honestly, I mean, watch it back. When you see the size of Rob, he was the biggest man I've ever seen.
Let's get into this, right? This is what made me a fan of you. It's Derby Days. Yeah. It is probably my favorite YouTube series of all time. I've seen every single one.
There's better. I've done better stuff since then.
I know you think you have.
No, I have. Trust me.
But for me, that's because of the nerdy side of the rivalries and stuff.
That's another thing I'm adamant now and like work on. Sounds like the first few years I had to work for other people, and I want nothing to do with that kind of content. It was done by producers who didn't research.
So this is Derby Days?
The first few seasons of Derby Days.
Right, okay.
Name the Derby Days episodes you like, and I'll...
Oh, man, I love the Atalanta one.
Yeah, that's mine.
I love that one. I mean, obviously, we're not going to talk about it because Patreon exclusive.
Yeah.
Super Classico.
Yeah.
What else?
I watched the Berlin one yesterday.
Yeah, that's mine.
Oh, I love the Berlin
Anything
one.
post 2017, I was in charge of. Before that, I was run by people who were sports fans, not football fans. They didn't care about the music. They didn't care about the research. And to be fair, I didn't show enough care, but like there's a whole thing in the background. The first few years of Copenhagen for me were very kind of problematic because I was put in charge of people who kind of saw my passion as like almost more of an annoyance because I'd won a competition, so they saw me as like, you should just be happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
But I was like, I was never. I'll tell you a funny story. I was never meant to have Derby Days. That was meant to go to Tom Deacon, who had a show called The Euro Fan. Here's an exclusive for you. Tom was meant to basically have the show, and I was like, no, I have to have that show. Like, I have to do Derby Days, rivalries and ultras and active supporters, everything. And they're like, we're on the tube. Hey,
Here he is.
here he is. He's
Here
more
he
handsome
is.
in real life.
Here
Wow.
he is.
Here he is. Yeah.
So, back to Derby Days.
I was saying that basically I took over in 2017 from about the Leyden Orient episode. If you've seen that one, the
Yes,
Leyden Orient one,
I've seen them all.
Following them all the 40. So like I've got a very weird thing where it's like people love Derby Days, but I think it depends on the Derby Days episode. Because the original stuff, people were watching it with rose tinted glasses. They're not that good. You can see the difference between watch the Berlin version and then watch the Milan version. They're different films.
There was something interesting that you said, which was you actually weren't supposed to get that job.
Oh yes, that's
you
it.
didn't finish
I was
it.
meant to get the job. So basically, I won best job in the world. It was only meant to be 5 weeks. I got paid £1 and obviously got to send out there, but it wasn't really a job. But it went so well. And the episode that really blew things up again was the riots were starting to happen because they'd raised the bus prices and people were already furious they'd spent so much on stadiums. They wanted the World Cup, but not at that price.
Yeah.
And it started kicking off in about the second game I remember we were at, and we were there for like 8 games maybe. But by game 5, like you were having to go 3 hours early to avoid the protests. And I was like, we need to report on that. And they're like, that's not really what we do. And I started getting stronger and stronger to the point where it was the semi-final, Brazil, Italy. And I'm like, we need to like at least speak to some protesters before, after the game. And I went rogue. My producer wasn't with me. And I just basically got my cameraman. We started speaking to people, documented the riots. Like nothing like crazy. It was our most popular episode. And everyone was like, get Ellie in more because he understands.
He cares.
Talk about more than the game. And then they were trying to work out the show, and I'd heard about Derby Days. So I'm like, you got to let me do that. I'm all about active support. They're like, nah, we've already got someone for that. We got someone covered. No, you have to. And then they were like, they weren't budging. I realized, okay, I'll try it a different way. And then I was like, all right, well, if you're not going to pick me, like, make sure you do like, don't just do the classics. You need to do Aris Thessaloniki versus Park. And they were like, what's that one? I'm like, Aris Thessaloniki. You don't know them, Park and Alice? No, you got to do like Camber versus Herenveen. All right, then they started writing them down. I started giving them a list, like these derbies they had no idea.
Yeah,
were
but bro, no one like
Wow.
with all due respect to the clubs, to the players or whatever. We know about the Milan
Clasico.
derby. We know about the for me personally, just with the content I like to consume, I would rather hear about the lesser known ones like your Herenveens and like your Thessaloniki, whatever. I'd rather hear about those because it's like I sort of already know a lot about the bigger ones, and it's actually probably the smaller ones that are probably more fierce.
Yeah.
Depends on which one, but I think that's what drew me to the series because it's before that, like with the Atalanta one, I didn't even know that they had like rivals like that, and
That's the idea. Like, and my whole thing was like, what I'm so proud about that episode is like we talk about their rivalry with pasta, with the Casancelli, and
Yeah.
one puts pork in the pasta, one doesn't.
Yes.
And they're like adamant each other have got it wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, that's why, again, I love football. That I genuinely, I was at a bar, this about a year ago, and there was a girl talking to me, and I'm like, I work in football. She wasn't that interested, and I'm like, where are you from in Italy? She's like, Milan. I'm like, where are you really from in Italy? She's like, oh, you wouldn't know, it's called Bergamo. I'm like, Atalanta. She's like, yeah. And then I start like talking about the Casancelli and the pork in the Casancelli. She couldn't get it out of her mind. Like, how do you know this stuff? And then by the end, she's like
I'm so turned on.
But like, it's not even about
So
that.
that's how you're picking up girls. That's how you're picking up his knowledge in
Coming back to the restaurant, so I was an awful waiter, but I blew everyone out of the water with tips. And the only reason, and we all shared tips, was because are they foreign? Get them on Ellie's table. They'll be like, yeah. I'll be like, hey, where are you from? I'm from Germany. What part of Germany? Braunschweig. Oh, Eintracht Braunschweig. You've got the rivalry with Hanover. It's like a feudal kingdom derby. And I'd be sitting there being like, I remember particularly that one. The guy was like, I don't really like football. I'm like, all right, where are you from? Braunschweig. Eintracht Braunschweig. And he was like, what? How do you know Eintracht Braunschweig? I was like, you got the feudal rivalry that goes back to the 1400s with Hanover. And this guy was just like, what the fuck? The Naples guy. And then everyone would sit on my table, and it'd take about an hour to get your food. But
Can I ask you, Ellie, you said normally you know more than the people you're talking to.
Yeah.
Do you put pressure on yourself to the point where you feel stressed and like, oh, I'm on camera, I need to know everything? Or
Yeah.
nah, it's chill.
I don't put. Yeah, I'm stressed. Like before I go, I'm like, I will read minimum 3 to 4 books on the subject matter that I go. I'll go through my magazine archive that I was telling you about.
Does that really, really change the end product, do you think?
Yeah, like you see it for yourself. Like that's what I'm saying. Watch the episodes that I'm the director of, and that I'm in charge of. It's like the reason we went into like the Huguenots in like all the influences in Berlin, from the point of like where the doner kebab came from to the meatball coming from the French Huguenots, is like I've researched that and then got them to say that. Or we're talking about how disco.
That is the craziest. You know why that's so crazy? Because when I was watching it, I was thinking the people that he's talking to are the ones that are giving the information. So they're making the documentary informationally interesting.
Yeah.
But it's actually you that's...
No, hold on, not always, but
but you're bringing it out of them.
Yeah. Most of the time I know what they're talking about, or even if I don't know it, I go by threes. I'm like, I'm a big... So again, I think we're in an age of overload of information. If I'm going to get people to watch my stuff, which is usually long form, you need to be learning new shit. I've got a rule. No, it means everything. No, it's a family. No, it's a religion. They're cliches that are bullshit. And then if you're not going to go into interesting, unique facts, it's pointless. So like people will be like, it means everything. I'll be like, no, start again. Why does it mean everything? Everything. Does it mean, coconut yogurt water? No. What is everything? Everything. All these cliches that people try and say, what I'm trying to say with it means everything is like everything. That doesn't even make sense. What is everything? Is everything mate? Is everything a chair, a table? No. What does it specifically mean to your club is something different to another club. For some people, it's like it's regional pride. For some people, it's like it's a religious thing. It's not, and you need to bring out what makes your club interesting. Otherwise, this is if you could say this about almost any other club, then I don't want to hear it.
Are you a Bourdain? You're a Bourdain guy, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because I see...
Not as much as other people. I love him. He's amazing.
Yeah.
But
I see similarities there.
People put it in the comments, and we're trying to get me a Netflix thing through that. This idea that, like, when I'm talking to girls, I'll be like, because I don't want to come out as this football guy. I'll be like, the way Bourdain explains football, the world through food, I explain it through football, and then
That's a great opening.
Yeah, but that is like my obsession is just making you be like, yeah, I know all about Galicia because I watched the Galicia derby days on Deportivo La Coruña versus Celta Vigo, and now I know that was the biggest drug trade through Spain, and it also was home to a culture of witches and taboos.
Bro, that episode...
That was my first derby day.
So when I went to Barcelona and had my 3-day relationship with this girl called Maria...
Yep.
Shout out Maria, by the way.
Shout out Maria.
Hold on, have we heard of this? What?
Yeah.
Have I heard of this?
You haven't heard of this?
It's actually new to me as well.
Oh, maybe
Well, she's half Spanish, half Guinea-Bissau.
Okay.
But her grandma from the Spanish side is from Galicia region. And the only reason I knew anything about her was because
You're
of
welcome.
derby days. And she's like, oh, you know a bit. I was like, well, she's not Mexican. But I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah. Like, it teaches you, it is the best vessel for learning.
Can we talk about the Argentina one or no?
The once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
We'll get to that after. Let me get through derby days and then remember to bring that up.
Right, yeah.
I just want to ask a few sort of mid-fire, not quick-fire questions. What's the one experience? I know it's going to be hard to choose one, but what's one from derby days or any of your content in general that made you feel different compared towards the others? Like you left somewhere as a different person.
That's a fantastic question. Probably Galicia because it was the first one that I was in charge of.
Yes.
So I fucked off everyone else.
So for those who don't know, can you say what's the Galicia like?
So Galicia is a northwest province of Spain or region of Spain. It's very Celtic. It's very cold and wet. I just found the Blaze, probably one of my favorite bands of all time. So I was listening to that specific music. I was like, I'm putting this music in the track. I've got like quite a cool connection with Galicia because a girl I met at a bar, basically watching El Clasico when I first moved to London. I had no friends. And I got talking to her. I'm like, are you Barcelona? And we're just like, I'm Celta Vigo.
Yeah.
And then like, I was like, oh, I have to go to Galicia one time. And I ended up, Celta Vigo we stayed friends and I said, one day we're going to go to a Celta Vigo game. Long story short, they made the semi-finals of the Europa League in 2016.
Yes.
Me and her were meant to go out there, but I got the legs wrong. So I told her it was the second leg when it was the first leg. And she couldn't get work off because it was only the night before I realized it was the next day. And you couldn't get a ticket for your life. And I got 3 tickets to Adidas and my boy from Australia was here. So we just got on a last minute flight, flew out and gave a third ticket. We're going to find the biggest fan and just give it to him. The guy literally dropped to his knees and was like, if you're staying in my house whenever you're here, I'm now friends with that guy. We made friends with these other random people who just couldn't fathom that were 2 Aussie Celta Vigo fans. We lost 1-0, but it was like the greatest. They drink like cafe liquor there. We were off our head. I don't remember how I got into the
Wait,
stadium.
so you're a Celta Vigo fan?
Yeah, no, that's probably my team.
You're converted.
There's a few teams I got in Spain. It's a running joke with my producer that there's so many clubs I love. I hate Real Madrid. I don't really like Barca anymore.
Yeah.
But I like Betty. I like Osasuna. I like
You like
the more random. Again, you can't not tell these stories and then have an affection for them.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah, but the big picture with Galicia is the whole film I made was around how rainy it is, and they're known as being really indecisive because they never know when it's going to rain. So they never. That's like their cultures that they've got this. They're literally known as the indecisive people of Spain, and I wrote the whole script about how it's always raining. We went in December in the middle of winter, 8 days of sunshine. It was fucked, and the derby was on the 23rd. That was the last day. We did not get one bit of rain, so I said to the
color grading. Like you're gonna have to change everything to look fucking dark.
Well, I basically decided. So the game was on the 23rd, 24th. Everyone went back to their families, and I don't have family in London. I was like, you know what? I got mates here. I messaged them like, "What are you guys doing anything for New Year's?" They're like, "Stay." So I stayed an extra week, kept the cameras, shot it myself. The rain came the next day, and for the next 8 days, and I shot all the kind of the GVs or the rush of the B-roll. Made friends with these guys. Partied for 8 nights. Made friends. So much more. Got to know the city. And I left the city just like I'm part. Like it's not the prettiest city, but it's like a city with character. And I'd say Derby Days Galicia. And then that was the first ever derby that I was in charge of, and the first one to be 20 minutes long, and then they got to 50 minutes long. But that was the one where everyone was like, "This isn't even about football anymore. It's about culture."
What's the most pertinent case of football serving as an outlet for the working class or a specific group? Like one where you think literally without it, they're not here.
Sorry, what does that question mean? I didn't understand the question. In case someone else didn't understand the question
okay.
as well.
It's more so like, how can I word this? What team or club did you visit where it means so much to a working class group of people that I think without it, it's almost like they can't survive?
I would say more. I can't really think of a club. Maybe it'll come to me. I'd say England in general. I don't know what that country would do without football.
Yeah, especially maybe up north as well.
Yeah, it's up north. But then you could even say West Ham. West Ham's one where it's like that. It's England. I always say England without football. I don't understand what it would actually.
Oh, that's an interesting answer.
Yeah.
Because
that's that's one of the last countries that I would have picked for you to say that.
I mean,
but what else do they have?
Obviously, we're going to talk about Argentina, but when I interviewed Jonathan
Yeah.
Wilson, the main interviewer, and we were talking like when I ask someone something and I want them to stress how much something means, I'm always like, yeah, but don't just say it means more. Give me a reason why. I'm like, where do you think he lived in Argentina for a few years? Where do you think the football means the most? And he's like, I've always said it's a triangle. Brazil, England, and Argentina are the 3 places where I don't know what their identity would be without. And he's like, I would actually cut out even Brazil because they've got other things going on. England and Argentina are the 2 places where it's like a fundamental of who you are as a person is the football. If you think about how many working class cities in England are just defunct now and are really struggling, the one thing they have is a club.
That's why I've always said England. And people always look at me like, England, you reckon? And I'm like, I'm telling you, they have nothing else. They don't have fucking food. They don't have dance. They don't have anything else.
I think the reason being is because economically it doesn't seem like a country that's struggling.
Yeah.
So that's maybe...
Yeah, but they just, again, everyone's knowledge and love and pride in having given the world the game and like...
They have the best pyramid.
The best... football
best
pyramid.
football pyramid. Yeah.
I was going to say.
Stonehenge.
I'd say the best version I can think of that is, especially the working class. If you've got money in England, you're all right. There's other things to do.
Yeah.
But really, football at the end of the day is like you can be a shithole town in League Two. You still got a good stadium. You've got a reputation. You're probably known around the world. You get to be in part of the FA Cup. You're like it just is the core of every place in the country, with the exception of a few towns.
Are there any moments that you thought this has gone too far? I need to pack up and stop filming.
Yeah, so many.
Which okay, let's sort of
get that now.
Let's relate it to danger maybe.
It's kind of one of the reasons I stopped Derby Days because the amount of times I thought I'm actually in massive trouble here. Okay, I'll give you a great one. We hit 1 million subscribers back in 2015, and we decided to do. Actually, I came up with it. We were going to give out packages. I'm like, that's shit. Like, why don't we do something real for our favorite stories? So we picked 5 stories that we loved, and gave back to them. One of them was Bosnia. Bosnia is such an amazing place. That's another one that I implore everyone to go to. A place that's been through so much and is so hospitable. Did the derby there, FK Sarajevo versus Željeznica. and we were really just touched by the supporter base. They were just beautiful. We go, so the prize I wanted to give them was 2 of the interviewees were like, also the most amazing thing in Bosnia. I think it's the poorest, second poorest country in Europe. Everyone's English is perfect. The Balkans is incredible like that. Yeah. Everyone speaks perfect English. They're also, I've never been to a place where everyone smokes, even the fucking kids. It's crazy. But they also speak English.
8-year-olds.
Maybe you get like English lessons with your cigarette packets. But the 2 of these kids who spoke so eloquently, who were like 15, had no money, had nothing. Zeleznica made the 3rd round of the Europa League qualifying, I think it was the 3rd. Played Standard Liège. So what we decided to do was these 2 guys, 15, 16-year-olds, we decided to take them to the game, pay for their flights, take them out to the game and be there in the away bay with them. And we also loved it because no one had ever done Bosnia's derby. We went to a lot of derbies that no one had been to before, like Ireland, like Serbia.
Yes.
But back then in the 2015, 2014 period. So we fly them out to Brussels, get their visa sorted as well, because I'm not sure if it was a European country back then. Pick them up, and they've never been on a plane before. They were just loving it. Oh God, this is so crazy this happened. And then we take them out, we pick them up in Brussels and drive them to Liège, Standard Liège, huge club, historic club, amazing stadium as well. Park the car, and in any derby days or 90% of videos, I don't take a side. Even if I've got a soft sport, I would never wear colours. I'm always really respectful. I'll never talk shit on another club, because it's like, for me, it's like, I owe it to both sides.
You're a
to be
guest.
respectful. I'm a guest, and I'm not here to like judge. And I'm again, I bring it back to like, I have a responsibility to the audience and also the subjects to like not. But we're here for this Bosnian team. I'm not here for Standard Liège. So when we landed, we got out of the car, we parked in a random spot. Standard Liège is super working class, mine in town. They give me like this ultras gear to wear, like they not full up, but it's ultra.
The Bosnians do.
The Bosnians do, and they get 2 little hats. I'm like, thanks guys, yeah, fuck it, come on, let's go. Because finally I get to go as a fan. I'm not here as a reporter.
Yeah.
It was like we gave back to 5 different stories: one in Ireland, one in London, one in Berlin or Germany.
So you're not filming this?
No, we are filming it.
You are filming
but it's not like a report. Like this is a crazy game. It's all in one episode. You can watch it. It's COPA 1 million subscriber thing. We don't reveal any of this. We parked the car up. And Brussels is quite far from Liège, so by the time we picked him up and got there, we had like an hour to the game. We got to go. So we're walking with these 2 kids who we're responsible for, me and the cameraman. And we're walking down the street, this main street, and I remember there were 2 other Canadian Bosnians fans behind us who had flown in for the game. We're like, do you guys know where the stadium is? Like, no, we were following you. We'll keep walking, we're walking. And then like we're walking down the street with lots of bars. I'm like, oh, that's a nice Stony. Oh, that's nice Gazelles. And I'm like, what is Standard Liège's ultras? And then like clicks, like fuck, Ultras Inferno, like they're one of like the most notorious ultras in Belgium. And I'm like, oh, we should probably be careful. And I look around and the street's gone silent and they've all just like closed up, and the 2 Canadians have run off. The Canadians, Bosnians have run off, and we are surrounded by this sea of ultras. And I'm in full ultras gear. And what's the one thing they hate besides the rival ultras? Cameraman. My cameraman's there with all his camera in North Face. And they just start screaming shit in Flemish or whatever they speak in Liège. And like it was like a zombie movie. They were all closing in. I was like, whoa, we're not. And I remember just thinking, I'm fucked. I'm dressed like an ultra. Like this is this 15-year-old kid. Like,
well, you got a Stony and Gazelles on.
No. But like I've got ultra's shirt on.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
The whatever, Maniaki, I think their name is Maniaki.
Yeah.
They're just giving me a shirt. I just said yes. I just didn't think. Yeah. It was really irresponsible of me. And I remember a bottle flew, like, and they started singing about their rivals, FK Sarajevo. Maybe they had a brotherhood. And people start like walking towards us, and they're walking in. So we're doomed. And I remember thinking, we're doomed. And a bottle comes, flies. I remember dropping. I just dropped. I didn't know what to do. I'm about to get killed. And as they like come in, they start kicking my cameraman, and there's just punches flying. I get dragged, and I think I'm being dragged by an ultra. They were undercover cops who had made like a lane to like of an alley, and I had blocked us off, and they were basically holding the ultras back in a lane in an alley. As like this, I'd been like dragged along the floor through the crowds and been like hidden in this lane in Liège, Belgium, as like bottles are flying, and I'm hiding in this alley. And the cops barely spoke English. They're like, I remember him saying, you suicide? You kamikaze?
Yeah.
Like, are you insane? Like, what did you think? I'm like, I'm Australian, man. I don't know what's going on.
Is that where the story...
Where's the 15-year-olds?
Yeah, we all got dragged in. When this shit happens, it's happened a few times, everything goes in slow-mo and you don't remember everything. But we get dragged in. They've got rights. They pull in the other cops who come in and like hold everyone back. Bottles are just flying in. We've got no cover. And we're just holding us back. And they ended up breaking the back fence and letting us through that way, and then we got an escort into the stadium. But like, if they kicked these kids' asses, we were responsible. We just realized at that point we got to be way.
Wow.
Can I really? This is one question that I've always really wanted to ask you. You're going to these clubs who have fanatical ultras, hooligans, whatever you want to call them. It's obvious that they hate cameras because they don't want to be caught on camera. How do you navigate talking to them, dealing with them? I know you probably need a contact.
Yeah. So there's contacts
And
contacted.
how do you, like, they hate cameras, they hate media. It's hard to get through to them, but they are the ones that are creating the atmosphere, and it's them that you really want to hear from, not just the general fan. And, you know, even the side of, I'm not saying you do this, but voyeuristic sort of dropping in somewhere, filming them, and then being like, all right, thanks, guys. I'm just going to go put that on my YouTube now and monetize it. Mm-hmm. How do you navigate that very slippery slope? Because that's always one thing where I've always wanted to document stuff like that, but I always thought, like, it's not even worth, the potential risk.
Each case is different. But again, I'm so lucky of is for every good video I make, and again, like authentic video, it gets more respect. And more respect gets you into another place. And then by getting into that place, the next guy goes, fair enough. Like I said, the Hungarian episode, if you watch Hungarian Derby Days, the first set of fans, the Újpest fans who allowed us to film them, I mean, these were thugs. When the other side heard we filmed them, they were like, well, you got to film with us now as well. And like, we've never screwed over a supporter base. I've never spoken poorly about a supporter base. Don't get me wrong. If someone does something wrong, I'll be like, I'm not comfortable with this. But I like to think that so many supporters have seen. I'm 12 years deep into this. 8 years of my own work, like the ones that I'm proud of. I think people have seen now, like, this guy's one of us. He only wants to celebrate us, and even if he doesn't touch on the more murky stuff because he wants to, and that's part of it. That's one part. The second part is the contacts we have. Once you're in this world, I know so many contacts who know contacts, and those contacts are trusted, and they know they wouldn't bring them in otherwise. So, don't get me wrong, it hasn't always gone wrong. We'll talk about it later, but Superclásico Argentina, when we tried to speak to El Barrachos del Tablón, right after the bus attack, they threatened to kill our contact for even calling him. And we were in the car, and he was like, yeah, we can't speak to him.
Bro, if this happened to me, how do you keep going? If this happened to me once, I'd be like, fuck that.
Just
his love for the game.
Kill him, not me.
No, but I'm saying, is it like,
what about us?
Yeah, but you got dragged into a fucking alleyway.
I'm going to the side.
Like, do you ever just?
Bro, I'm a kid from fucking, Elwood who, if I my life could have been just spent at fucking Waverley Park.
So that's how you look at it.
I'm like, I am the only person on earth who has keys to anywhere I want to go to. Most clubs, most fan bases trust me, and I also have this talent of seeing how to document a story, and like I got to keep going. There's days where I'm like, this is too tiring. Also, that shit doesn't happen as much anymore because I don't really fuck around with dangerous things, because there were other times, like, I'll give you one more, like the derby, Hamburg, St. Pauli versus Hamburg. Sorry, there's so many stories. The night before the derby, the first derby in 10 years, we went to a block party where the St. Pauli fans had saved this building development for themselves. St. Pauli fans are amazing. It's an actual area. It's like their version of like St. Kilda. It's a bit chaotic and mad. They'd saved this block. We were filming like the party there, and we needed another battery, and I was like, I'll go back to the hotel and get it. I'll go back to the hotel. By the time I got on the wrong train, by the time I got back, my crew, I said, you guys just drink, go. Things like, I work my crew very hard, but I'm also like, enjoy yourselves as well. So they're drinking. I get back, they're fucked. The party's coming to an end. It's like 1 a.m. of the match day now. And I'm like, you know what, boys, let's just go eat something. They're drunk off their heads and nothing's open, or like we can't go. We've been told it's too dangerous to go to these parts. We go to this restaurant in the St. Pauli neighborhood where every business was being protected by ultras because each one were trying to attack each other because their neighborhoods are so close. Haasfau and St. Pauli. I haven't told you this story?
No.
We go get dinner, and I remember as we're walking in, seeing all the gazelles outside the window, but I was like so like in the zone of like, I got to get my crew fed and we got to go to bed. We sit down, and my fixer is a legendary St. Pauli guy, big in the skateboard scene, big in the cult music scene. He's an iconic guy. We sit down, and then when we sat down, I looked up, and everyone had turned at the windows and looking at us. guys in balaclavas are just watching us, and I'm like, geez, are they looking at us? He's like, no, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Guys, let's order because it's closing soon. And then we order, and my crew are just too distracted. The guy, they're going like this, come outside. And I'm like, no. And I go back, he's come outside. And then he walks in, he's like, you, outside now. And I was like, me? No, I'm not an ultra. I'm from Australia. Like,
Yeah,
well, I'm a
it's
journalist from
safer.
Australia.
I'm Aussie.
And it also freaks people out. They're like, you're Aussie? What are you doing in a...
Yeah.
Because I'm always in these random places. That often gets me through anything.
Yeah.
An Aussie accent
Fuck
gets
yeah.
me past security because they're like, what's like a weird brown Aussie doing here? Like, just go, man. And he's like, you come out or we drag you out. And I was like, oh, and I said to my, please come with me.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is this St. Pauli or Hamburg fans?
This is a Pauli fans who I thought we were safe with. Like,
Oh, you were with that same fan base.
what do you mean?
You were with the St. Pauli guy inside.
I was with he's a legend, but didn't matter. They were like, come outside.
Right, okay.
And I'm like, oh, and he goes, come out or we drag you out. And I remember said, all right, I got up and I'm like, come with me. And he goes, stand up and goes, no, just you. And I was like, oh, and it's in the Green Mile, where it's like dead man walking when he's walking out of death. Like it was the slowest walk outside ever. I've got nothing. I'm like, I'm done. And I'm trying to get my crew's attention. But I remember like I had a tear come. I was like, they're going to kill me. Like the back streets of St. Pauli, there's no lights. We'd see just crews of hooligans. And we think there's hooligans here. Hooligans in Germany, they are like military in the way they move and organize. It's incredible. And I walk outside and they grab me straight off my feet. They pick me up. They take me around the side of the restaurant. And I remember I lost control of my limbs. I maybe even peed myself a bit.
Of course. I'm about to
Genuinely.
piss myself now.
And he goes to me, we know who you are. And I was like, okay. And he's like, we love your videos. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, but we smash everything if you don't leave in half an hour. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, you turn that camera on, we smash everything. And I was like, okay. They're like, go back inside. And that was it. But like to hear, we love your videos, but we'll smash everything.
But what was the meaning behind
the reason?
What was the time limit reason for like?
Bro, I don't know. I didn't ask questions. It was like,
What was your instinct then of what was
You
going
have
on?
30 minutes to finish
I
the
think I
schnitzel.
said something like, oh, we can leave now. Like I've faced so many people try and fight us, and my response, and I tell this to my crew, is always, no matter what, we are guests in their home. We shouldn't even be there. You always apologize, explain the person that you know, and you say, I'll stop. And then they usually
Never stand up for yourself.
they want you to confront them.
Yeah.
I once got attacked when I did the Madrid derby, the last ever one at the Calderon, probably behind Super Classico, the most emotional derby ever. People like I saw a man pull a clump of hair out of his head. It was insane. It was truly, I watched an 80-year-old man with a stick like try and like fight a security guy. And that was before it kicked off. I've never felt anything in the stadium besides the Bombonera like that Calderon. It was the second leg of the Champions League. They'd lost the first leg 3-0, but they went up 2-0. And people were like, this is it, we're finally going. They'd just been Madrid had knocked them out of two of the last three finals.
Yeah.
And it was the last one in the Calderon. An Atletico fan base, fucking rough. And back then, I was only filming on a phone because we couldn't sneak a camera in. And I filmed this one guy future many times and he warned me. But I wasn't filming him. I was from far away, but I could have just enjoyed the game, but I'm the director. I have to get as much. And he comes in and just starts attacking. Like he came from behind, clocked me. I was on the stairs, and then and the riot police pull him off, and he's just having to go. And I went up to the riot police. I'm like, let him go. Like this is his last game. It's my fault. Mi culpa. Like let him go, and I'll leave. And they let us both. The guy also couldn't believe it because I was fighting to get. They let him go.
Yeah.
And he got to sit in his seat. He was like shaking my hand. I'm like, it's okay. I'm sorry, but like that's my whole thing is like. 100% like I'm nothing. Our show is nothing without the fans. Like,
But how do you it's happened to me once
you just got to be humble.
where the camera wasn't even on. I just had my thing there and I copped it. And I get it. Right. But it's how do you toe the line of getting the footage you need, but then also, I mean, you're 12 years in now, you know what you can and can't film.
I know who and can and can't.
Yeah.
I know where it is. Like again, another one, once in a lifetime, Freiburg, man. We were fucked. There was no way we were getting the cameras in. The person that was meant to get us in, I cried when this happened. And an ultra came up to us and he said to us, we'll sneak him in for you. The guy basically said to me, like, I had a really bad time in COVID. Watching your films got me through it. I'll sneak these in our like these giant flagpoles.
Yeah.
They snuck in all of our cameras, and he's like, if you film us, we'll smash all your cameras, but we want you to film our fan base and make us look amazing. I was like
from a distance.
No, they were at the front of the tribune and we were at the back shooting backwards.
Right.
So they were like behind us.
Yeah.
We were in the ground. We had tickets. If you watch the Freiburg episode, you'll see it. Like they're filming me, but like this guy, the way he spoke about what the film's meant to him, and this was a hardcore ultra who was like, I don't want to be filmed, but yeah.
Can I ask you, Ellie, you mentioned that you work your team hard, but you also let them enjoy themselves as well. What is your normal working hours if you're filming a documentary?
Are they normal?
Like what are they?
Pretty much there's no sleep.
Well, we don't usually stop filming till the sun goes down. And if in the summer, that can be like 10 p.m. But then I'm also like, whatever you want to order on the menu, whatever you want to drink. Like, you know, we were in Cardiff. We shot a film in Cardiff, and it was the Super Bowl was at like 2 a.m. So we were drinking for like 6 hours straight.
I'll tell you something funny. Sorry to cut you off. You know Benny?
Yeah.
Where you filmed something for us once?
Yeah.
So I'll never forget, this was hilarious. Matilda's verse, who was it?
What, Benny who? What, the game?
The guy, when I got you a camera guy.
Oh, no, it wasn't Josh Barolo, no?
No, didn't I get you a black guy? Benny, the black guy?
Oh, yeah, Benny.
Right,
yeah,
Benny,
yeah.
right.
Oh, big up Benny, man.
Big up Benny, right? New in the game of videography, right? And he's quite a shy guy, Benny. Great guy.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about Yeah,
right.
Go on. What's this going to be?
Fed Square.
Yeah.
Right, was getting rowdy as anytime the Socceroos or the Matildas play, Fed Square is a fucking...
It's great.
It's mayhem.
Yeah.
Like, I always implore people to go to Fed Square. It must have been... It was pissing down rain, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably it's winter, yeah.
Yeah. Was it...
Yeah, it was. We had the yeah.
Yes. Was it Matilda's versus...
It was Matilda's France. Benny was Matilda's France.
Right.
Sure.
I go, oh man, you know, there's a guy from England. He does soccer content, and he's looking for someone to film. Calm. I don't think he knew what he was getting into, because when you watch Ali work, first of all, he doesn't stand still, and second of all, he, and I mean this nicely, was dragging Benny through this crowd, like get this, get that, get this, get that. And I was watching it, I was just thinking, this is fucking no wonder why he gets the moments, because.
So I've had some massive fallouts with friends, crew members, and there's still things I've got to work on, but I'm like, no one gets the shots we do for a reason. Like, it's like, if you miss a goal, like recently on a shoot, I had a massive fallout with a friend and a colleague, and I blasted him. I probably shouldn't have blasted him the way I did. It was a few other things were going on, but it was like, he was like, I missed it, but I got it right after. I'm like, if you miss the bit before the goal and after the goal, you miss everything. It's like you missed a penalty. Like, it's not good enough, and you can even miss it if, like my the Bodo Glimt episode, my two main camera ops know never to miss a goal, and he missed it, and he was almost in tears when he came up to me. But he's like, I literally it happened in the 45th and 32nd. Bodo scored. He bumped into the Lazio ultras who were there, the few who got, and I was like, that's totally understand. If you miss for a reason, and also you're like, I won't miss it. He didn't miss the
Like he's ready, but it shit happened.
Yeah.
So are they recording the whole game?
What?
Are they recording the whole game?
Like, so you got one crowd
like,
reaction.
there's like a whole oh, bro, you'll need 4 hours if I explain how I shoot games. But it's like, it doesn't take much. I don't care about the away team scoring. If you miss that, we can just fake someone being like,
So if there's a counter, you want them to put
the second you hear a noise, there is no excuse for me. I'm like, I shoot a lot of the games, you just don't realize. I shot the Betis episode, I shot the Traps and Sport episode that won the big documentary award.
Yeah.
I've never missed a goal in my life, so there's no excuse for you to miss a goal in your life.
Yeah.
If you like football, you understand the concept. A goal comes, you hear, if we're with the fans of the supporting team, they make a noise the second it enters the other team's half.
Yeah.
There's freak incidences where someone shoots from 40 yards where you're not looking, but like there's a rule, you never change batteries until it's a goal kick for the other team, because that's the most amount of time.
Wow.
It's like military, bro.
Oh, it is military, yeah.
Don't reload.
a guy-
Do not.
a guy-
piss now.
Oh yeah, bro, I enjoy. But like, I'm also like massive feed on match day before. Has everyone got every food? Like, I'll have sandwiches ready to go. But it's like you've got the cameras, and I'm gonna start to shoot a bit more now, because it's like we have a response. We can. The goal is everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
It's the eruption.
It's the eruption, and it's not the bit afterwards. It is from the no goal to goal. It's not the I got it 2 seconds afterwards. It's like no. You get the bit from the nothing to the goal. Otherwise, it's everything is in that. Like, and so I've got a whole thing of like the Betis guy. He did a great job with everything else, but he missed the goal. The one goal Betis scored. I got the goal in the stadium. You were literally in. He was at the watch along in the Betis stadium, but there was no game being played. And I was moving batteries, and so I made a rule. Right, you never change a battery or a card unless the ball's in a throw-in in the opposite in your half or the goal. The moments where there's no way,
injury or something.
It has to be an absolute moment, break in play. Otherwise, run it to the last second. Like, and there's all these other things I've come up with, like corners, and there's a whole way of shooting of like, if people, you can tell people don't like being filmed or they're not too easy, you have you coming down, corners going up, and now pull up on them. There's a whole
Sorry to cut you off, Rash. Going back to Rash's question though, what would a well, it took you 3 years to do the Argentina one, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how much I can talk about that, but like that, there was a lot to do with that Argentinian doc. That's like, but
because you edit as well. I don't think people know. You edit everything.
Yeah, I didn't know that. You said it yesterday, I think. And I was so fascinated by that. It's
You didn't know I
amazing,
edited it?
man. I didn't know you
see the
edited
credits?
as well.
I'd make sure everyone's My name pops up many times.
I don't watch credits.
No,
but-
it's, yeah.
You know what's interesting as well, bro? Do you have any inspiration from Guy Ritchie? That's a random question.
Maybe subconsciously.
But I was like, bro, when
The
I'm watching
style.
it, this
Yeah.
is this person's like zooming in on their face and like,
Maybe.
it's really cool, bro. Yeah.
Possibly. No, I edit the films. Again, Argentina is a long story. There's something really to do with, there's a few people at fault. Me personally, basically, when we got Argentina, the rule was if they win, I edit all my films, but I was like, I can't edit this. It's too big for me. Like, this is the biggest thing. We tried to find people. It didn't work. There was a few fallouts, and, you know, I don't want to get into the politics of it all, but basically, I think it was December, and it was a year and a half in. I was like, right, I want to have to roll up my sleeves and do this myself. Because we tried with an edit and it wasn't. I've just come to this realization, like, if I'm not editing, it's just not going to look as good. And there's also reasons, because I'm the director, I know where everything is. That Jonathan Wilson interview is done after the World Cup. I realized I needed one big anthropologist explaining everything.
And you had to slot it in.
We had to slot. I mean, his interview went for 2 days. It was 8 hours over 2 days.
Is it? Is he the one in the office? Or is
In
he
the office, yeah. He wrote that book. To be fair, that book I read on the plane, because I was in Australia for SBS until they knocked us out, and I read the first chapter and I was like, this is how I'm telling the story. And then I realized I haven't got anyone to tell that story that way. And Argentina, the other big thing with Argentina was I personally think it's one of the greatest football documentaries of all time. No one's ever going to capture the World Cup winners that have waited 36 years, that story. I mean, you guys, I know how much you guys, it's like, we got the moment that I think is the biggest ever moment in our lifetimes for a World Cup. I was almost like, how can I ever do justice? I was almost too scared to touch it.
Yeah.
I was like, how do I even do justice to what this is? Like, it is so insane. Not just that it went down that way, the people I found, the things that came across and happened to me.
The gun.
Like, Dizzy.
Did someone get shot?
I don't know. Well, I don't think so.
No, because you drove off.
Yeah,
There was a gunshot.
There was the gun. That was 2 blocks later.
So that was
That's my biggest regret, that I didn't get out of the car.
Because when
if that happened again, I'd get out 100%.
No, because you actually in the docker, you go, let's go back and check it out.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Maniac.
There's 2 gun situations. There's the guy who pulls the gun.
Yeah, and he comes back a second time, right? And that's when you did.
No. There's the guy. He pulls out the gun. I see it. I go, we got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Because that's when I try and explain this to people. When that 2-2 happens, even my film doesn't do justice to, like, it felt. I watched a man. We didn't get on camera, but he put his head through a window, and I watched a man lie on the cement. It was summer. It felt like the world was collapsing. Like, through it, like, timestamp this and don't put this in because I don't.
No, don't say it then.
Okay,
Don't say it.
I'll
Don't
check
say it.
afterwards.
Yeah.
So why?
I hate editing.
Okay,
I'm not like.
I'm just
I
going
hate
with
you, bro.
I'll edit it. Okay, fine. I had another personal thing involved with that film, like where they couldn't lose. And then essentially, it felt so dangerous so quick. And my producer was saying to me off camera, our hotel. I'd gotten a hotel. One of the things I'm most proudest of is that those shots I'm getting. I'd clocked after the quarters. If they win this, because we had gone to the Obelisco for that game, I was like, we need to be one of those hotels. I got a hotel for 250 American, 2 hotel rooms the night before. But I'd got them, we were staying near Casa Rosada, but I got those rooms just for the night before the final and the night of the final. They were $250 US each, and
This
by
is the best.
night before, NBC were offering me like $2,000 for one room. They were like, we'll do anything. And we were like, no. And you couldn't because they were checking IDs. And it was the perfect place to recharge batteries. And obviously you got that view. But if they lost, my producer was like, they're going to burn the hotel. They're going to burn everything. Like this, it's been too long. It's another World Cup loss. And they were 2-0 up. My producer was like, we need to get back. Our passports are there. So we need to get back to that hotel. And as we show in the thing, it was like out of nowhere, SWAT teams started coming out of. It was like fucking Swan Road when Melbourne Victory played.
Oh yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was genuine. Like people started swearing at each other. You saw people start. It was like it went from, and that's what I'm so proud that we documented it. The happiest place on earth to the most filthiest, angriest place where it's like you are not welcome, and then guys are pulling guns on each other. So what I'm trying to say is like when that gun got pulled, I was literally standing on the corner. That's why big up Igal, the guy shooting that. I was just looking into the distance, like I was out of body, like I can't believe they fucked this. And then he pulls the gun. It actually takes me a second to realize what I'm looking at, because like when you see a gun, I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen it before, that's not on a policeman. It's a really daunting. Like you kind of slow down and you're like, I thought I was gonna faint, and then just as I realized he's not seen, because I thought he was gonna shoot me, because we were kind of filming him. But I'm someone who always wants to film something. If you watch it back, the second he even walks past me before the gun, the first fight, I go, whoa, let's get out of here. Let's go. We blur his face, but he has tattoos all over his face. He's on something. He's just, and everyone's basically on something. So we run from him, and then we drive 2 or 3 blocks. As I'm saying, did you see that? And we're stopped, and we can tell something's going on, and the cops get out, and there's a shooting there. That's separate. It's the same street.
So
it's a different thing. And that's why when I say, can we go back? I didn't want to go back to the shooting. I wanted to go back to the first place. And that's when we were just going to drive by and look to see if he shot someone. But as we drive by and look, as you see in the film, they score. And I had to get out of the car. And that's where he's there hugging the guy. And my cameraman we were too scared because he was insane. I'd love to do all the shit that didn't make the film, but I try and get close to him, and you can see the guns like hanging out of his thing, and it's like, what the like this is insane. And we were gonna stay there for when they won, but we were like, we got to get the obelisk. Shooting that was just wow. I don't even. What was the question?
And you decided, like you almost had a weird vision that they're gonna do it. You decided to fly to Buenos Aires in the quarters.
Oh, I knew they were gonna win it from 3 years earlier. I was like, if there's a football god, he's winning it. He has. I really feel the summer thing. You got to understand, man. Like they live World Cups in winter. They finally had a World Cup where, like, I have to tell you guys how much they love Vasados and being outdoors. That will never happen again, because unless they win it in Saudi. But even if they win it in Saudi, it'll have been a few World Cups. It was 32 years. It was Messi's last. There is never going to be that story again, and that's why I was like, I don't even know how to start this
run.
They're unbeaten run, but it was more that to wait that long and to have one in your summer when it's Messi's last and it's the first since Maradona's death. It was like this. If this actually pulls off, and that's why I couldn't start it for so long. And also, even though I was never meant to have done it, and that's what took it so long. It took me about from when I started it in April, and we got it done for December. It took about 8 months.
Can I ask about Izzy specifically?
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
He's amazing, man.
Amazing.
He's amazing, bro.
Amazing.
Great guy.
How did you meet him? And bro, what a person for football.
Which one is he again?
Which one's it? The star of the show, the nutcase with his dad.
Oh, bro.
Backyard guys.
Bro. He's like,
Have you watched
Perdón, Messi.
He's in Super Classico episode, and he's in. Have you seen my qualifier film? The one where I referred to him on the balcony. You should watch my qualifier one from the Real International Break. So I did a Real International Break episode about Argentina. Izzy, so it all comes back to that restaurant. Izzy was studying economics in Brisbane at that restaurant.
You're kidding.
What, bro?
Yeah. Izzy,
that's mad.
Izzy's like family to me. Everyone hated him. He got fired from the restaurant about 3 times, but he'd always come back. He's from, as you can tell, a lot of money. He's from San Isidro. He's from like that's the other thing. It's like,
that was his house.
Yeah. His neighbour's Hernan Crespo.
Yeah.
It was Hernan Crespo's dad. Is the house. He's like that. Right. I've stayed there. I've spent Christmases there. Izzy is so he'd work at the restaurant. He is a sociopath, but he's also incredibly intelligent, like a savant. He's from a lot of money, and he finds himself in Brisbane, living in a small flat, having to work, serving people. It's just not what he's from. Again, we bring this up in the Super Classico. Porteños, people from Buenos Aires, are very arrogant as they are. If you're from San Isidro, the northern suburb, not all of them, a lot of them are lovely, but there's an arrogance to him. And again, back Brisbane me was like, if you had a hint of liking football, you were my mate. And he was the first person. I thought I knew more than everyone. Then I meet this guy who would be like, who won the fucking 1962 World Cup? Who was the referee? Where was he from? And I was just constantly trying to meet his thing until I finally got above him. Anyway, so he worked at that restaurant with me. He'd drive me home. He was like 10 years older than me. And we just talk football. He didn't actually he's only just got back into football, but he kind of stopped watching it when he moved to Australia. But he says we didn't put in, that interview goes for about 6 hours. Fuck. 2 of it is him just constantly trolling me about football, about AFL and cricket and how Australia will never know happiness. And I'll tell you maybe on the Patreon, I'll tell you about what else was going on in that interview. But he admits on the thing, he's like, you know what kills me the most? I've been to so many Argentinian games, 4 World Cups. I was there. He was there when Martin Palermo scored the last minute in the rain against Peru. You were there for that. He's like, but you know the saddest thing, the loudest, best atmosphere I've ever experienced in my life? Brisbane Roar 2011 Grand Final.
Yeah!
He's like, that Patalu header, what the fuck?
Yes!
Anyone who's in that stadium, were you there?
No.
It to this day, I remember I was like,
it was fairy tale.
It was a joke. That Patalu header was a joke. Like the Pens, it was that second goal to this day is like, I think it's one. There should be a statue for that. Like we can get into that, but no. So Izzy was a economics waiter. He's a sociopath. But he is perfect for the camera.
He's poetic.
He's like a big mother. Oh yeah, he's amazing. I want to give him a show for something else, but
all right, that's our intro for the ep with Ali. All right, now we'll get into.
We haven't even got on to, I want to talk all about Ange and Vince Regari's book.
I know. All right, what we'll do is, because the people want to hear about it.
Just quick on because I reread his book. You know, he didn't just work at what's the shop?
World of Soccer.
He started it. Him and a guy called.
That's what I just heard.
Yeah, he literally started the at the shop after he lost.
Damn,
his job.
I got to show him more respect.
Yeah, we thought he was like a young kid employee.
Yeah,
You took us on the tangent.
What do you mean you want predators?
No, he was. He was selling boots. But he worked in the shop.
He's a business owner, though.
Have you guys actually read Vince's book?
No.
I implore you to read it, bro. It's so it is the. I read on the plane here again, and I probably cried about 4 times because it touches on so much more than football. It touches on like what it's like to be. The first chapter, I think, it starts with a Wogboy quote, and it touches on the ethnicity and the fight that has been a football fan in this country. So succinctly, it's not like patronizing. It's not like overtly political, like I can be sometimes. It's just about how hard it is, and I just constant fight about fucking hating this country and how it will never realize how amazing football can make it, but also loving the fight against the odds. And it's just like this amazing thing that like I personally like feel like myself, like Ange had to leave Australia to have this career. I feel like something similar. Like I couldn't tell my stories if I lived here, but like at the same time having that pool to always come back and try and help, and still goes on Aussie TV shows and still wants to help. It is the best book, and it is like there's so many crazy stories in there. And I got to the chapter about world soccer. I'm like, fuck, if you read the book, you'd know. Like, it is so good, man. I know if you're not into reading.
Is there an audio book?
I also, this guy, man. I not just because Vinny is my mate. I genuinely think it's the best football book I've read.
Wow.
In solo. There's one story, like, he has, like, this is just one, it's a tiny part of a chapter where, like, in the 98 grand final, NSL grand final, where South Melbourne won, Carlton, South Melbourne, I think it was 2-1. Bresciano's playing for the Carlton team, which was backed by an AFL club. Carlton AFL club backed it. The guy who scores it, Con Butsianis.
Oh yeah.
Do you know about what happened?
That's around us.
He's a getaway.
He's a getaway driver of a fucking $50,000 robbery. 3 nights before he wins the fucking.
Oh, I didn't know it was close to the game.
Yeah, like a couple of days before, and then he gets
pre-game.
He gets arrested the next day. The club had put him on bail. The club had I'm like, wait, you're telling me the guy who wins the grand? You talk about controversies today. Imagine if the AFL knew about that. The guy, it was a robbery. It was like a full-on robbery, 50 grand in cash, and he was a getaway driver with a balaclava on. A few days before the fucking.
I've heard. When did we speak about that?
So funny story about Combacianis. He lived across the road from me, so I used to train with him when I was a kid because he was.
Wait, is he still alive? Allegedly, this is allegedly.
He's the best set piece taker in Australian football history. That's how good this guy was. Yeah, the reason his move got blocked to the Premier League came back to that. Yeah, because of visa issue.
I read he never got charged, a criminal charge for it.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a visa anyway.
But you just read about that.
The good fight. Are we talking about what's currently going on in football right now.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll round it out by. We probably should have said this at the start, but
I'm here for 4 more days. So if you want to do a part 2, maybe we could.
Yeah,
do
maybe
part
we
2.
can, man.
See how we go.
We'll round it out by.
do heaps.
We'll speak about the A-League Grand Final because I've been getting messages all week. I just want to start by saying that incredible job to both sets of fans for selling out Amy Park. We've never had a Melbourne Derby final before. The atmosphere looked incredible. You obviously, I've heard so much about or people's reactions to your monologue before the game and how it G'd them up for the game. But again, unfortunately, it's been tarnished by over-policing and media. I'll just quickly give my perspective on it. I had a friend tell me that he has a mate who worked at the Paran station. They said they were empty. 750 officers were sent. He said you wouldn't even get a fifth of that for the AFL Grand Final, if that. The videos and images I saw on Twitter were quite dystopian. It almost looked like martial law in some of the stuff I saw. We've got a bunch of tweets and messages saying my kids were crying, 10-year-old. They felt like they were in trouble. They felt like they were, really scared because obviously, and we've said this countless times, the more police presence actually puts more people on edge. It creates more tension. And rifles, you're seeing SWAT teams, riot squad. It's just going to basically pour gasoline on the flames. So obviously my opinion is that, and what we spoke about before with Herald Sun and all that, and even Vince Regari said it, and he didn't say this verbatim, but they know, these companies know that's what's going to get clicks. There's almost a part of me now that wants to tell football fans in this country to not retweet, to not share, to not like, because we're almost giving them what they want in the sense of like views and ad money and all of that shit. Like imagine if no one on soccer Twitter mentioned anything about what the media was saying. And I know it might sound weird to some people, but I almost feel like it could be like they want like news outlets, media literally sells when they use negativity. Like they were waiting for this. Like not talk about, it's a Melbourne derby and how great it is, how good the attendance is. And mind you, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, people, but I actually didn't hear of any major troubles before or after the game.
I don't know exactly.
I don't know.
I'm sure
I don't know.
something small probably
It
happened
always
like
does.
any big event.
Like any big event. Yeah.
I did want to read something I got. I saw this write-up from a parent, and I think it summarises it pretty well. This is Sam Bentley from Fitzroy. I'm a footy and soccer enthusiast. I also have a young family. We went for dinner on Swan Street before the A-League Grand Final on Saturday night. From our vantage point, the most dangerous aspect of the pre-match gathering was the Victorian Police. While brash and noisy, the Victory fans were aware of families and other members of the public. The heavily armed police presence was not only imposing and heavy-handed, but created unnecessary tensions. More dangerous still was the police blockade that forced the moving crowd into a small passage along Swan Street. This could have turned into a dangerous crowd crush. While many flares were lit, no public property was damaged. Some media outlets have since described these scenes as chaos and civil unrest. I often wonder about the continued demonization of soccer crowds.
I took a picture. That was in the Age letters to the editor, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Saw that.
Yeah, someone also said that
Fucking.
they said that they watched a police officer say something along the lines of apparently a fan was just standing there doing nothing. And apparently a cop said, fucking move, you cunt. You're not meant to be standing there, and then dragged him and pulled him down. And look, guys, we touched on this a lot in the police episode. That's why we did it. It came from the horse's mouth. It came from a police. Like, some of these cops want or are looking for a fight. And I think again, even us talking about it, it almost contradicts what I'm saying to not give it any airtime. But unfortunately, like Ali was saying, Herald Sun, The Age, they're waiting. They are waiting because there's this thing going on, and I think it really got inflamed during COVID of this fear-mongering of middle-class Australia, let's say, especially like the older generations, especially like the white generation, the Anglo, whatever, you know what I'm saying. These media companies feed off these 52-year-old Karen Facebook comments saying this is a disgrace. I've seen people saying ban soccer. They feed off it because they are the most gullible, that boomer generation or whatever you want to call them. They're the most gullible. And whatever they see on the news is gospel to them. And that's the real issue. And that's why, we are lucky. I know it goes against what I said, but we're lucky that now there's independent news outlets and people on Twitter, just Twitter accounts as well, spreading the truth. But once you have that generation, that they just believe anything the news says, it's fucked.
Ali, what's your perspective? Obviously, being someone who spends your life around football fans, and especially in somewhere like Europe, South America, what's your perspective on this whole thing?
I've said, Nick Stoll tweeted about it, like, can you remember a week with so many highs and lows? It's like, we've had Ange Postecoglou win the Europa League. Like, that is, it can't be understated how huge that is. The first manager who's not Argentinian or European to win a European trophy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We've had a sold-out game. I bet, yes, it should sell out. We've had, the Socceroos look like they're qualifying again.
The Matildas
games selling out. That goes under the radar. That's under the radar now. Matildas just sell out. Canberra and Melbourne this week.
Normal.
And then I see that. I see the lack of coverage it gets in these traditional places. There's other moments just break my heart. I've been back. I flew out from London Tuesday night, got in Thursday morning. I've had so many moments of like, wow, this is incredible. This game has come so far. And so many other moments I'm like, we still have so long of a way to go. I think the most heartbreaking thing is, and this is what my monologue was about, you guys who missed it, hopefully the A-League, I think, are going to try and get it. It's in 5 sections. The first 4 sections are about the first 20 years, broken into 5-year sections. But the last bit is about me being like, what a fit-in fixture to celebrate 20 years. Melbourne City have given us the top goal scorer, Tim Cahill coming back, the biggest ever derbies. Melbourne Victory, who many people forget, that stadium was built because the crowds they were getting were so big. Melbourne Victory have given us Archie Thompson, Kevin Muscat, Terry Antonis. There's so many memories. And then I go into the other bits that we don't even recognise that this league has given us. Ange Postecoglou makes his name truly at the Raw. You got like Jared Gillette. Is that his name? Is that how I say his name?
Yeah.
Gillette. He's coaching at the Premier League. You've got players, 22 out of 24 players from the World Cup started in the A-League or made their way through the A-League. This league is, not even to mention all the crazy fan moments that I did in my ad. It's so easy, and you speak about this, about to look into the now, but this league, for all its faults and everything is up against, has given us so much happiness that you just almost got to like zero in Joey Esposito. You know Joey? Mm-hmm. Love the guy. Like I was quite down the other night and he got me up. It's like there's so much going. We've got more players than ever going to Europe. This game is legit now. We've got teams coming here all the time, European teams. But the bit that breaks my heart the most is like, if we have a player who shows any quality, he's just going to get sold. We're up against all these other codes that get the media that we can never get. We're up against clubs from AFL NRL that are 100 years old. We have active support. That's something they can never, ever have. And then the cops are trying to kill that. And it just, I don't know, it breaks me that like the one thing we have that no one else has, our USP, is being squashed in this way. And there are morons in there, definitely, and you guys have called them out, and rightfully so. Like, we all have to understand that, like, regardless of what your politics are or how crazy you want to act, you also got to, like, give and take. There's always that line of what's too far and what's not. I'm totally cool with flares. I love flares. Throw in flares. You shouldn't even be in the game. Like, we can't be throwing flares in this league. If you can't clock that, if you love, like, I always say that thing about, like, when fans are acting up, they're like, yeah, so-called fans. It's like, shut up. They love football. But I saw a few dickheads throwing flares when I was covering for SBS Fed Square at the World Cup. And I'm lucky enough that people recognize me and will listen to me as some kind of authority on the game. And I said to a few guys, like, guys, don't throw flares. That's Channel 9 there. They are desperate to capture that.
I saw you do this.
Yeah. I was literally begging. It was also a realization that like there's a whole new generation that I don't know and who don't know me. But then there were these other people who I could just tell they genuinely, I don't think, even know anything about football. They're here to be just to toss flares, and they are gonna, when people will toss, and that's that thing of like, it's this constant line that we, I once spoke with Fozzie about, like, he was talking about getting like what they have in the MLS, like controlled smoke for when a goal goes. I'm like, but the concept of flares is that it's a bit chaotic, it's a bit rebellious, and I kind of like that. Now I also don't like too rebellious. It's a never ending thing where like, and you guys have touched this so well when you're talking about Argentina, where you can have what happens in Argentina, and it's like you're on a different planet with the atmosphere, but there's also people being killed and there's guns being brought to not the first division but like fourth division. Did you ever go to a game Nuevo Chicago? Oh my god, Chacarita, like the things you hear about what happens in those games. But then the atmosphere it's about constantly finding a balance, and I just feel like the way the authorities, what they're doing, it's like, because I've gone to A-League since day one. I used to fly down to every Big Blue from season 2. I won't say what I come out on camera what I did in season at that Telstra Dome first derby, but like people who know, I was sitting in the blue and white brigade, but I had my little crazy. I was at SFS away. I used to go to wherever there was an atmosphere. I'd fly in. I went to every grand final, and what blew my mind was like the atmospheres. I remember I started crying watching the RBB, the Central Coast Mariners grand final of 2013. There were umbrellas like in Chile, like in Latin America. There were flares going off, different unique homemade banners. I had my own banner I'd put up there. And I remember being like, this is it. And one by one, as they've arrested fans and like, I don't know, there has to be something. And people are angry at the APL or the FA, but it's like, it's bigger than that. We are in such a nanny state. But the problem is, it is an orderly country and it does work for many people. So you're trying to ask the country to be like, it's this never ending fight we're going to have. But the one thing we can't do is turn on each other. And like, that was part of my thing. It was like, today is not just a grand final. It is a celebration of 20 years, 3,518 matches of so many mad moments. The A-League, sometimes it's just surviving, sometimes it's thriving, but it's ours. And without it, Jared Gillette is in at the Premier League. Ange Postecoglou is in at the Europa League. How many Socceroos are in Europe? And all of us, all these moments we've had, like if you really think about it, like these crazy moments in the terraces, we don't have them, or how many connections were made. So we just got to, I don't know what it is, but we got to stick together, and we just got to keep fighting this fight, because there's never going to be a utopia. Football's never just going to make it. Even when we think we've made it, like 06, with those crowds when 20,000 was a bad crowd, and we were making round of 16, it's always going to be fleeting.
Yeah.
The AFL and the organisations and the authorities are always going to try and stamp down on it. We've got to come again. Like the Matildas come and risen it up again. And something's probably going to go wrong there. And then hopefully the A-League will come through with them. But we just got to continue this fight. And I don't know, maybe we're wrapping this up, but it's like, we were just speaking again about 25 years ago, football was just like a backwater here. And that's not to say the NSL wasn't great and had its moments. And those Socceroos aren't legends as well for fighting the fight. But we are mainstream now, where it's making money, it's making careers, it's making cultures and stuff. But we got to stick together, and we can't hate on our own. Otherwise, they win.
I think that's a beautiful way to wrap that up. Ali, you're a fucking legend. I know I'm speaking on behalf of all the fans of your work in Australia and worldwide. I'm honoured to...
What would be, sorry, Drew, what would be your top 3 docos for people who've never watched one, to get a real gist of what you do and the best you've put out?
I do that a lot when I'm trying to get media accreditations. It depends on the the 2 that everyone knows, I'm just going to say that first. Is my 2 main Argentina ones, the Once in a Lifetime Argentina and Argentina Super Classico. That's separate. That's like the big magnum opuses. But the 3, to really understand what I do, I would say Derby Days Hamburg, Once in a Lifetime Trabzonspor, and Derby Days Berlin. Right. So they're probably the ones that people come up to me and say, like, that changed how I see football. They're the 3, I'd say.
Guys, obviously, if you've been living under a rock, it's on COPA 90. You'll see all his content there. What's your Instagram?
I'm just going to change this COPA 90.
COPA
90, yeah.
COPA.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, it's all good. Americans go COPA 90.
COPA.
Sorry, I don't like Americans. I should probably.
Before you say anything as well, a big thank you to you guys, not just for what you guys do. Like I said, I've listened to every episode. You guys have such a special take on this with all your different perspectives, adding the humor and the culture. And also just like, there's a lot of football podcasts out there, but like you guys are so authentic in your love for the game and everything a part of it. And like I don't really know much about NPL because I'm not from that world. And I'm so into it now because of you guys. And I think what you guys do is amazing. I'm genuinely a fan. I'm not just saying that. Like I said, listen to every episode. And also a big thank you for hosting the Argentina premiere in Melbourne last year in December.
Oh, that was so good,
I heard it was great. So thank you for that as well. You guys are always, I hear a shout out to the show and like you'll reference something about like how you'll explain something through one of my docs. And it's very much appreciated that you guys appreciate my stuff. I'm equally in awe of you guys and I'm honored to be here.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you.
Side note, just to finish on something funny. Someone who asked me how I met Ali.
Me.
Was that
And
you?
it's-
And it's weird, huh?
I personally
where
think
were
it's a
we?
really strange.
It was,
Less from your end, much.
I
more
want you to be
lensing on
honest from your end because what happened was Ali was here.
be careful what you say.
Yeah, I know.
I don't- okay.
No. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I'm just putting myself in Jerome's
Nah,
shoes. I would never have done what he did.
I would
but
have done-
credit to
Jake, you know what? To be honest, I wouldn't have done it with anyone else. I wouldn't have done it with anyone else because I'm like, oh, I know he's from Melbourne. He's here. Like, this is sort of weird, but I'm going to give it a crack anyway. And thank fuck I messaged.
Yeah, nah, honestly, and the thing is, I check my DMs maybe like the I just always forget my the non people I
requests.
follow maybe once every 6 months. I think I was jet lagged. I landed the day before.
You were fucking cooked.
Yeah, I was cooked, and then you've messaged me, and I don't know why I even responded. Usually,
I thought so. Sorry, I thought you told me that he'd put up a story saying, "Does anyone want to hang out?"
He
Oh, yeah,
did.
I
He
checked-
did.
I
And
done
he's
that.
gone. He's gone. Yeah,
Yeah, he
I'm
did.
gonna fucking hang
I
out.
did, I
And
did.
he respond, and I'm like, bro, I would like if someone put up, "Hey, you want to hang out?" I've never met them before. Whether
But
I
Jake,
revered
this
them
is-
or not,
I did like
find
that,
that's- I find that strange.
I was
This
up at
is
like
the
6
guy.
a.m.
This is the guy that's living my dream job. I'm like, if there's one person I'm going to fucking do it
that's
to,
how,
Yeah, that's
It's
how.
Ali.
But we meet at Ultra, and
at 5 a.m.
no, it was like 7, but the jet lag had hit. I love Jerome. He's like me though. This man can talk. And I remember the jet lag had hit me, and I was too polite to be like, "Bro, shut the fuck up." And he was just like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." This is what's wrong with me. And I remember sitting there like, and there was something else going on. But I didn't want to be there. I was self.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I remember thinking like, "Yo, this was a mistake, man. Why did I?"
Hence why I don't do those things.
Yeah. Hence, yeah, exactly.
Although
Yes,
this
it was-
blossomed
it's
into
a-
a nice
it's a-
friendship.
it's an odd thing.
Exactly. It's a great friendship. Like I just should have realized that jet lag was going to hit eventually, and then it did. And then this poor guy stuck there. I think I probably almost fell asleep. I was like,
You were falling asleep at the table.
Yeah. It was bad. But no, listen, so to this, and the beautiful thing I always bring up to Jerome is New Year's Eve, 23 going into 24, I was back here. I never go on Instagram live. It said Jerome was going on live. And I remember when Eli Mengem, like 8 people were listening. Someone asked him a question like, what's your plans for 2024? And he was like, 24 is my year. I don't know what something, because he didn't even know you guys then, right? 23 going to 24.
No.
And you were literally saying something like, you were speaking about everything you want to do, but you were like, I think I'm going to get back in the podcast world. I got a feeling. I wish I'd like screen
Oh,
recorded it.
really?
He said this whole thing.
Did I?
And I never go on lives. I remember I was in Sydney at the time on the way to a house party, and I was just watching it and thinking like, yeah, fair play. And then I just assume and then this has happened.
Wow.
2024, it started in 24, right?
Yeah.
This was like, December 31, 23. And I always say it to him every time I catch up with him, like, man, you manifested this. Like, this guy's been working so hard in this game for so long. And there's so many fakes in football. Not fakes, but people who like football but don't love it like he does and you do. So I think it's the perfect marriage between all of you.
Bravo.
Wow.
Well put.
He's on my list, man.
You liked it. You like that. I like that.
Guys, to check out some extra content, our first ever Patreon episode will be with Ali. We're about to jump into it, so you guys make sure you check out our Patreon for extra content. We're going to give a whole spiel on what the Patreon will entail, but for now, this has been Suited and Booted. Thank you very much. 5 stars on Spotify. Where else are you going to get Eli Mengem giving the best football stories in the world, man? Suited and Booted, we out. What was that, Noel?
I don't want to know.